Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so hey everybody, people who are watching, welcome to Awesome Talk, the quarantine edition number 10 on June 19th, 2020.
Or as I like to put it, Riot version 1.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Edition 1.
Riot episode 1. I don't know, man. I see Rob in the chat. I hope that he Skypes in with us, man. I miss you, Rob. I miss everybody. I miss the whole. I
Is
miss
is
people
that
being
Rob
here.
Marchi?
Yeah, dude. We actually we actually cleaned up the studio tonight, and I felt like I had this feeling like people were coming here, but I don't really know that they. I don't know why I felt
Rob, I
that way.
love you so much more right now, dude. Like, I realized the past, couple weeks that your audience of being a history professor is, 10% of people actually paying attention. Like,
Yeah.
like 90% of the people that you're talking to are just going to do the same shit over and over and over again.
But
and you're
Stones,
talking
isn't that like that with everything, though? Isn't it like that?
and
with
you're
everything?
and he's talking to the 10% of the people that are like, oh crap, this is what's coming.
Yeah, yeah.
I appreciate that. So I so much more now than ever before in my life. I appreciate that wisdom that's being shared. 100%.
But life is like that, Stones. I mean, think about this, right? When you're growing up, especially when you're in your teens and early 20s, how many people say, "Oh, I'm never going to go that route. I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to be one of those people that buys a house and has 2.5 children and then fucking 99% of everybody does exactly the same thing."
Yeah, it's really weird. It really is bizarre.
Everybody does the same shit, dude.
Strange.
It's amazing. Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, I see Dave in the chat. I see Laura in the chat. I see DJ Alien in the chat. I see Geggy Tan in the chat. I see Rob Marchi in the chat. I see Laura in the chat. What's going on, everybody? How's it going? We are here. We are here. We are hoping that more of the show. I see Madison in the chat. I see Matt Clahosi, man. What's up? Somebody get me the outtake. The outtakes is fucking grocery store. Rob, let me know if you're gonna join. Shoot me a message so I know to go check the Skype, because I don't know if the Skype will just add you automatically or not. What's up, Paul? But yeah, so right now there's three of us here. Hopefully that's gonna grow. Three of us members of the show are here, and yeah, Stones just said that it's the Riot it's Riot episode 1, Awesome Talk Riot episode. Because here's the thing. Let me just explain. Right. This is the 10th quarantine episode that we've done so far, okay? And all 9 of the episodes leading up to this. What's up, Justin? All 9 of the episodes.
Wait. It's also important to keep in mind that an entire season of Awesome Talk is only 12 episodes.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right. So we've done almost an entire quarantine season like this, which was not. I don't know what the fuck we expected in day one.
We were definitely not planning it, because we had the entire season ending planned out on the board, like the whole season, the season finale. It was all planned out, and then we were going to take a really short break and then start the next season, and then this season kind of turned into this.
Yeah.
Hi, Justin.
Yeah. The season turned into this. Show became. We adapted. We were ready to roll. We adapted.
Well, there's a lot of adapting.
But anyway, but my point was we did 9 episodes, and a month ago we stopped. I just think because there was so much personal tragedy and everything was going fucking crazy at that time. What's up, AJ? That we just couldn't. And what's fucked up about it is by the 9th quarantine episode, and bear in mind, I would say 90. Stones, would you say about 95% of the conversation in those 9 episodes was about COVID-19? That's probably fair to say.
Yeah. It actually did. Nearing the end there, it was getting a bit. Just the tone was just super dark all the time. There was nothing positive really coming out.
And let me tell you something, Stones. Let me tell you something. The tone hasn't changed. It's dark. If anything, it's darker now. Because
yes,
when we
I don't know.
When we ended episode 9, I thought to myself, wow, look at this fucking epidemic ripping the world in half. The world is ending. The world is ending. And then 30 days went by, and there were riot police 5 miles from my fucking house.
Right.
And half the fucking country's burning to the ground. And I'm like, Oh shit!
Yeah,
now
but-
the world's ending. What the fuck?
Yeah, but I don't know, but that might be a good thing. You know, that might actually there might be actually some cool stuff that's coming out of this. You know, one thing that you can't ignore is that with every pandemic like this, there's always a party on the other side of this, and I think this is just the pregame to the party. You know that there's going to be
right.
some pretty major changes that are going to come about.
Keep in mind, folks, everything's going on in the world right now is just the pregame still. We haven't hit the real shit yet. And you know what's fucked up? You know what's fucked up, dude? I think there's some truth to what you just said in a way that you didn't even necessarily mean. What's up, Rose? First off, we got the second wave of COVID on the way in.
Well, here's the thing too, though, man.
Right.
Like me and you are in two different camps, though, too, man. Like you know, and justifiably so. Your quarantine measures. I can't be on the same level of quarantine as you because I don't have a work from home job, but I need money.
I know.
So you know, and you have a totally different set of challenges on your end. So you haven't been out and about. I have, and the reality is, dude, this second, I do believe that the second wave is on its way.
It's already started.
I do believe that most people aren't taking.
Dude, Florida had 4,000 fucking new cases overnight.
But I don't know if that's still part of the first wave. That's the thing.
No,
it depends
no. First wave is old shit. That's old hat.
I don't know. I don't know if that's. Are you talking nationally or statewide or you know? There's different ways you can look at.
At least nationally. At least.
If you look at it nationally, it's still the first wave. If you look at it statewide, you can see signs, especially like in Florida, North Carolina.
So here's what I mean by that. Well, here's what I mean by let me qualify a second wave for a second. Things have gotten to the point where people are pretending everything's fine, and they've returned to the store. The hospital. I actually got an email from the hospital that said, you know, if you've been putting something off, we've actually our time has gotten better. You know, we've opened up a little bit here because there's less cases of COVID coming in. So if you've been putting off coming to the hospital, now would be a good time to come in. So I go, okay, cool. There's a lull that's happening. Of course, it's happening because of the social distancing and all that other shit, right? There's a lull that's happening. Rob Marchi just joined the chat. Just joined the Skype feed.
Nice.
So so now it's rising again, right? So Florida, their fucking ICUs are all packed again.
Right.
Like 48 hours.
Florida's ICUs were never packed.
That's an interesting point. Because I'll be honest with you, I didn't know that. Like I assumed everybody's ICUs were packed at some point. So now I understand your state by state. What you meant by state.
Right. They had a rise, and then the whole country went on quarantine, and they had a fall, and then they opened back up too soon. Right. And now they're on the rise again. So that looks like a second wave for that state. But if you look at it on a national level, you know, there's just been a steady increase nationally, and they're part of the steady increase nationally. So, okay, New York, New Jersey's down. Now Florida's on its way up. So the rise nationally looks pretty straight, you know, straight up. So, like I said, so it depends on how you look at it. If you look at the U.S. as a country, I think we're still in the first wave. If you look at it state by state,
right, you
know, you can see a bump down and then it coming back up in certain states. New Jersey's not one of them at the moment. You know, and look, you know, being outside makes a big difference. You know, the weather makes a big difference. There's, you know, the policies.
By the way, just so you know, man, they don't know that. Like I read the other day too that was old information. They were like, as soon as it gets hot outside, this should go away. And like they're starting to find that in tropical climates, it doesn't.
I'm not talking about the heat. I'm talking about the fact that people aren't inside dining. The people that right. There's not churches gathering. That's what I mean.
Right.
That the spread is very evident in large groups in enclosed spaces. You mean
like re-election events with thousands of people, like that kind of thing?
Oh, it's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea.
Yeah, and he does not
But-
give one screaming, flaming fuck about anybody, and neither does anybody who's going to see him. It is going to be an absolute petri dish of fucking stupidity.
Well, that's the whole thing. Look, people are going to be people at this point. Like I don't know how to stress this part enough. Look, you can't not. People are just going to do whatever the fuck they're going to do, and you as an individual, yeah, okay, fine. It puts everybody else at more risk by other people being fuck ups, but that's what's going to fucking happen. Like, again, thank you, Rob Marchi, for teaching history, because I learned all of that through a shit ton of history lessons, and I'm just I never really realized how important learning history was and being able to see what's the writing on the wall. It's so unbelievably clear during the time of a pandemic. It's unbelievable to me how real it is.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we can hear you, dude.
Hey,
Hey, what's up, dude?
long time no see.
Yeah, man, we were just talking about how when we did the
Hey,
9th
dude.
episode, it was basically like the end of the world, and then we went 30 days up to now, and now it really feels like the fucking end of the world.
I know, dude. We basically
man.
have
I
been
don't think
away
it does.
from you from a smooth face back to full beard.
Yeah, I as I said to Rick the other day, I was like, "This is fucking Revelations, man. It's scary. It's
Do you
I don't
think
want
it's scary? Because let me tell you something, man. All right, so let me tell you guys something. I went down to Asbury Park. For the protest, but I didn't go down there for the protest. I went down there because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I had a bunch of anti-fog wipes that I wasn't going to use because I bought better ones or whatever. So I donated a bunch of them to the protesters and a bunch of them to the police and the fire department because we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and it was a hot, humid day out that day. And figure, if people want to keep their eye protection on, this will give them an option to be able to avoid the frustration of condensation forming on their glasses. And let me tell you, man, I was down there for I was sealed up like a crazy person myself, but I was probably down there for about 2 hours, man. And what I saw was a lot of unity, a lot of togetherness that I didn't think existed currently in today's society. I really didn't think it did. I thought that the police kneeling was more of a photo op situation. I didn't think that I didn't feel
Can I stop you right there for a second? In terms of the police kneeling, I think it depends, and also to speak to your experience, I think that it depends on where you are. I think some police it's performative. I think in other places, they're doing. I mean, they did this locally, man. They kneeled with the people, and then after it was curfew, the riot gear went on, and they started tear gassing people.
And again, I personally, I am personally very conflicted about all of that because you got to remember. So the Asbury protest happened about 5 days after Minneapolis started burning, right? It was like 5 or 6 days after the fact, right? So Minneapolis was burning down to the ground. There was a bunch of fires all over the fucking country. Asbury Park has a bad history with the race riots back in 1970. It took that town out for 40 years. It was in just economic shit and drugs and just it was such a shithole. And not saying that it's what it's turned into now isn't great either.
But you could also argue that was all first off racism. Because why the fuck isn't Asbury Park put in the same fucking pedestal as everywhere else in New Jersey? I mean, state funding should be state funding. Number one. Number two, they have a long history of political corruption there. And number three, listen, man, if they riot in Deal, New Jersey, where there's money, they're gonna fix that fucking town the next day, no matter what they do. They could burn every block down; it would be built the next day. They do it over here. Nobody. It's like depends on where you do it. You know what I mean? Whether or not people give a shit. But
so here's my thing. So there was 10,000 people there, and the reason I say 10,000 people is because if you look at the aerial images of the drone footage, it looks like roughly double the Stone Pony Summer Stage lot, which that holds about 5,000 to 6,000 people max, right? So it looked roughly double that. So there was about 10,000 people there that day, right? Everybody knew to get the fuck out of town, except for like 200 people. So there's 200 people left at night. Now, initially, again, this is where I become completely conflicted about the situation. Because if you look at the national situation 5 days into the moment, nationally, a bunch of shit was catching on fire, right? You got 9,800 people that left the situation in Asbury Park. You got 200 left. Now, here's the part that kills me. Okay, yes, riot gear came out. They didn't have, first of all, Asbury Park didn't have fucking ballistic helmets, which is mind-boggling to me because I remember as a kid walking through the Ocean Township fucking the police department weapons locker, and there was fucking anti-aircraft grenade launchers well before September 11th, which why the fuck did they have that back then? And the next fucking town over that's known for fucking riot problems
Stones.
has no ballistic helmets?
Sometimes if you got a gopher in the garden, you know, a BB gun's not going to do it. You need a fucking anti-aircraft missile to get that motherfucker out the yard. But listen, man, hold on. So here's another thing that I want. This was my original point that I never got to like 10 minutes ago.
Right.
I'm gonna give you guys a really unpopular opinion. Okay. I happen to think that, to a degree, riots are a good thing.
Oh, no,
let me explain
100%.
why, because I want to explain this position, because I know I'm going to get attacked for saying that, but not by you guys, but maybe by other people. Riots are a good thing. Number one, I don't give a fuck if you burn the Target down. I find it super unfortunate that mom and pop shops get caught up in that fucking nonsense, okay? But the truth of the matter is, in something like the George Floyd case, you have only the fucking police to blame. I'm sorry. If they didn't murder that man and they didn't have a history of murder up until that point, like, people eventually are going to get so mad that they're going to explode. Now, a riot does a few things. One, it's a signal flare to the rest of the world who's not paying attention. Now, I've seen a lot of privileged people out there say, well, why do you have to riot? Why do you have to do this? Why do you have to do that? Because walking around throwing a peace sign in the air doesn't do anything. It gets fucking nothing done. In fact, I believe that politicians who fuck you over now hope that that's the route you go, because they know it's fucking essentially useless.
Right.
At least to an extent. Now, the days of peace that followed in a lot of places, I also believe was just as effective and had its place. But you need to burn some shit down once in a while, because once in a while, the powers that be need to understand that our daily compliance with their bullshit is more voluntary than they'd like to believe it is.
But this is the part where I get conflicted, man, because Asbury Park, that would have been all mom and pop shops. So
okay, and I agree with you. And by the way, I watched some live streams from Asbury Park, and there was one or two people who were trying to get shit started out there that was negative. And I know people.
I didn't see any streams after the fact. Like all the people that
was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
You know, all these riot police came through, and it doesn't make any sense because we were all being peaceful. I'm like, well, I don't see any of the. I don't see any of the videos showing that.
You do understand that that's part of why it gets bad. That's partly why an 18-year-old kid wants to pick up a rock and throw it through a fucking window, because he can be peaceful all day, and then at the very end, they're like, okay, this has been really nice and everything. Now get the fuck off the street. And
wait a minute. But I think they're missing the point here, because so many videos and stuff have come out that have already showed that most of the people that were the instigators around the country were either police officers or like completely, they weren't protesting, they weren't against racism, they were on the other side. They were just trying to start shit to make it look bad.
But I'm just saying, with Asbury Park specifically with Asbury Park, I didn't see any of the videos where the police instigated the riot. The narrative was
wait, Asbury had a riot happen?
When there was 200 people left, at the end of the night, they got into a physical altercation with the remaining protesters. One of the police officers made White House news because his skull was fractured because he didn't have a ballistic helmet, and he apparently got hit in the head with one of the bricks. And there was a big fucking an Asbury Park press reporter was pepper sprayed and arrested and brought down to Belmar Police Station, and apparently after the 170 or whatever 200 people that were arrested, they were all interrogated about if they were asked to join Antifa, which I found super interesting. That's
psychotic.
That's part of the data collection that's going on
It's so
around the country.
stupid.
Isn't it?
It's really bizarre.
Did we lose Rob, or is he still here?
I don't know. I hope he's still here because I want Rob's opinion.
Well,
I see his beard.
What?
Let's see. Yeah, he's here. Rob, you there?
I definitely see his beard.
I'm here.
Okay.
Oh, hey.
Hold up. There you go. There you go. It was. I don't know what happened. It like reloaded into the.
So
into the
half
system.
of me saying that the riot situation that happened in Asbury Park was everybody knew to get the fuck out of 9,800 out of 10,000 people. 98% of them knew to get the fuck out of town because they knew that it was time to go home and that it was fucking
right. But here's the other thing too that I want to say is that.
But it's got teeth if the 200 people are left because then you're flouting. That's the point of the protest. You're flouting the law.
Okay.
So
that's
I don't
fine.
know, man.
That's
I'm
fine.
so
That's fine. But
conflicted
here's
on
the
it.
deal. Here's the deal. Then let the people flout the law. Then stand by. Make sure no businesses get destroyed and leave everybody the fuck alone and show that you respect their anger and their pain. That is what I think, and I think if that happened, and a lot of these fucking these states and these cities where shit went south really fast and the riots got bad fast, it got bad fast because the cops shot first. They're shooting fucking tear gas and fucking rubber bullets blindly into the fucking crowd. Well, what do you expect is going to happen? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Can I just chime in for a second here?
Yes, please, Rob.
Here's the fucking problem with most of this stuff, right? Specifically in the day and age that we live in. Like Stones had referenced the 67 riots, and the 67 riots that affected Asbury as they were affecting, Newark and Camden. Keep in mind, we didn't have social media, okay? We didn't have such a divide in terms of how what do I want to say? How over glorified the divide is, right? The we're in a world where on both sides now, right? On both sides of every issue that comes up when you have riots or you have protests and stuff like that. So. Protests, anti-protesters, police officers, politicians, whatever the hell it is. We're dealing now with such a problem with one bad egg spoils it for everybody, right? So there's some merit to almost everything being discussed here in little bits, and you have to be so super fucking objective about how you look at it because the aspect of what Sarah was just saying with the police officers masking themselves as agitators, the people that have been caught on camera in shitty areas where the people in those shitty areas that have been treated like dog shit for years tried to peacefully protest and recognize the motherfucking local cops for being part of the setup that tried to instigate the mob rule. But then if you take a peaceful protest in a certain town, in the area where it is economically disheveled, or there's all kinds of issues going on with the relationship between the police officers and the people living in that area, or redlining and all of that bullshit politically and suppression, you get the people that are honest, right? And this is the problem that Black Lives Matter has right now and has had for the last 2 or 3 years, and it's the same problem that the police have. They're just too angry with each other to recognize it. Cops are good people. They do a good job. They're there to do what they got to do.
Wait, Rob, every BLM speech that I've ever seen has openly stated, we don't care what race you are. We're against police brutality. We all know that there's good cops out there. We're not talking about the good cops. Every single BLM speech that I've heard basically has encompassed that concept.
Understood. But what I'm saying is, right? What I'm saying is, you get a protest specifically as it's going on right now, and you have the peaceful protesters who are there for the movement. You have a mixture of exactly how Rick was explaining his point of view, in that there are a large number of people in America, black, white, red, yellow, indifferent, that are anarchistic. And the anarchy is brought on by distaste for the government. There's so much overlap today where everybody tries to jump in on the motherfucking party, right? And they try to do it for their own reserved individual responses. You've got people that are going to any protest that they can see as opportunists, right? They're opportunists. They're not there for the fucking cause. And you'll hear people that are involved in those movements aggravated. If you think cops are not pissed off that they have these bad fucking apples in their departments that are doing shit that then plagues them, the police chiefs, the fucking people, all the way to the top. It just, what this is doing is uncovering not only the level of corruption, but the amount in a world where if that shit happened in 1967, it happened for fucking legitimate reasons. Now, when a riot happens as a protest is taking place, these are people who want fucking likes. I watched business owners on video get the shit kicked out of them, and people literally stood by and videotaped it. And these are people of the fucking community. These aren't people that did anything to those people. These aren't fucking cops. That's not the local municipality. These are people looking to jump in on some world star hip-hop bullshit or to get in and get some free shit in a store, and they're not black. They're black, white, yellow, red. It's everybody. And
I'll tell you, that was something that I thought was super interesting was what with like the car fire outside of Target on night 2 or 3 of the Minneapolis thing, the photo opportunity that was a constant thing that was happening in these live streams, that it was just couple after individual after couple that were taking pictures of themselves in front of this burning shit. And you just know that they're just posting it to Instagram. Like it's just a huge photo of social media.
The whole world is reality TV now, and our president's a reality TV host.
That part was really bizarre. Rob, I've been wanting to ask you something so bad for like weeks now. Do you know the history? Because I don't. What is the history with? Okay, America, you're allowed to protest. Obviously, that's a freedom, that's a liberty that's being exercised in today's day and age. There's so many freedoms and liberties that are being exercised today that I am just now really being aware still exist. That we actually do live in a free country, which is this whole past few months has been such an eye-opening experience with that holy crap, we still live in a free place. Anyway, when did it shift with protesting? When did it become acceptable, and why did it become acceptable for the police to get violently involved with crowd control with protests? Like, how did we go from a country that was allowed to have protesting exist to the police beating on the protesters
quite easily, because what they've done is they've criminalized the areas that they're protesting in already. So they're proactively worried. And keep in mind, these cops, they're scared. They're just as scared as the people that are out there with the balls to go out there and protest. But just like I just said, those people that are the people that are bad, they're looking out for them. You know, I'm not justifying the militarization of police. That's decades of just incessant political bullshit that's been passed back to the fucking Reagan era. You know, prior to the Reagan era, the 70s, to combat that overflow of what could go wrong. The problem is you got such a gray area, and you walk this really fine line between what is excessive force and violence and overdoing. And some of these, you know, there's been a great point out there now for a couple months about, and I've heard it from cops, and I've heard it from the municipalities. I've heard it from people who are advocates for the police departments and for what we do. There aren't enough people that are involved in their municipal government. They're not involved in local politics. So for the financial expenditures and the allocation of funding, I say this all the time about education. For the amount of taxpayer dollars that go into the police departments, what these cops are expected to do as cops is no longer policing neighborhoods. It's everything. They dump all the shit that goes on in every area, every neighborhood, and place it on the backs of police officers. Police officers are out there to keep peace. They're out there to look into investigating crimes. And the problem is you got so much other shit that they're not properly taught how to handle certain situations that they're expected to handle. You know, and I'm not defending all police departments. I'm certainly not defending any of the actions that go on. I'm just trying to be as objective as possible.
Dude, can I interject? Hold on, let me interject for 1 second there, because one thing that I read recently that I wanted to talk about too was, first off, I think everybody understands that there's not everybody, but I think a lot of people understand that there are good cops, and of course there are bad ones, right? So the big problem now is it's almost unproductive to mention the good cops, because the problem is we need the good cops to feel the pain that the bad ones are causing in order for the good ones to
Rick,
work to get them out.
I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
You need the good cops. You need the good cops to point out the fucking bad cops.
That's exactly what I said in a different way.
You need the good cops to fucking stand there and go, enough is enough. This is bullshit.
The problem is, right? Like I was posting about, I think it was Eric Garner 5 fucking years ago, right? So the problem is, I always hear the good cop argument, and I go, wow, but they're still murdering people on camera in the middle of the street with total fucking impunity. Where the fuck are the good ones? So I think that we need to start thinking of cops. All cops need to be exceptional. You need to be an exceptional type of, if you're going to carry a badge and you're going to carry a weapon and you're going to go
I
out in
just
public,
think that the
you need to be
entire system
exceptional.
is the fucking problem.
What do you mean?
Like, here's the thing. When Brock Turner fucking raped that chick, was he the one that was in a fucking fraternity?
Yeah.
Or was that another affluenza asshole of another? All right. Well, when that happened, there's like this huge conversation about how fraternities are toxic and the mentality is toxic and how there's this culture around fraternities and what you can and can't do or what you're allowed to get away with and how protected they are because they're the rich white kids and blah, blah, blah. But when the same, I mean, it's not the same because we're not talking about a rape situation, but we're talking about a horrible fucked up crime in just another type of fraternity. But it's not okay to question why fraternities are toxic, but police culture fucking isn't. It's a culture. So to say there's good guys in fraternities, well, do the good guys let the date rape happen too? Is that it's the fucking culture.
So let me tell you a little. So you had that video that came out recently where you had that guy who was in some type of medical distress, and the cop tased him from behind when the ambulance was there, right? And they're like, "Oh, check this out. This is another form of police brutality." Here's the thing about that whole video. As an ambulance driver, okay, as an EMT, a former EMT, one thing that you learn is when there's a fire, the fire department's in charge of the fire. When there's a medical emergency, the medical personnel are in charge of the patient. When, cops are always there, but cops are there to direct traffic or assist. But the people who have control of that situation are the EMTs or the fire department. But you got these cops that tased this guy. They overstepped their bounds. It wasn't their call to do it. It wasn't their responsibility to do it. The EMTs didn't ask them to do it. They just went ahead and did it. And they know that they're just going to get away with it. That's the problem with the culture, is that even though there are rules within the system that's supposed to prevent these other things from happening in medical calls that are supposed to be medical calls, the cops just act and they know that they're going to get away with it.
If you look at the cop, have a situation whatever your job is, you're on a fucking roof, and let's say that you could do something shitty, right? Whatever. I mean, you're not going to kill someone, but you could do something shitty. And there's two things that can stop you. One is your own fucking morals or your sense of right and wrong. And two is knowing that you're going to be held accountable for it. So if your moral ground is for whatever reason, not there, shaken, not there that day, you were having a shitty day, whatever. And on top of that, you live every day knowing you're not going to get in trouble. You're not going to fucking be fired. You're not going to lose any fucking pay. And this is going to be swept under the rug just like a fucking pedophile priest. So what is there to stop anybody?
Do you guys remember that nurse that refused to take the blood from the patient that was involved in a motor vehicle accident? He was a truck driver or something like that, and they wanted blood from him. The cops wanted a blood sample from him, and the nurse was like, "These are the three legal criteria." And she was like, and then they arrested the nurse.
Yeah, I remember that shit.
What the fuck, man? And what happened to that cop? Nothing.
It's just if they have to exist, first of all, their roles should be much fucking smaller. And two, they should have the most oversight. The idea that they have this fucking immunity that Colorado just fucking got rid of today.
Did they?
And that's the part that fucking blows my mind too. It's that I feel like what people are arguing, especially people who argue with me online about this, I feel like what they're arguing in favor of is they're arguing in favor of just letting shitty cops just do whatever the fuck they want. And it's like, we're all citizens out here, right? So regardless of what color you are, you should be against the authorities overstepping the fucking bounds and hurting anybody excessively.
Right.
Well, don't you find it comical today that everybody that has a voice about that shit, if you look at their comments for the last 4 or 5 years, this is what I'm having a problem with lately. And I have stayed off of social media because of my own family issues for a while. I'm really not getting involved in it anymore. But like the amount of people who are such hypocritical, contradictory motherfuckers, like they talk negative about the government. They talk about how everything is being controlled by we got to overtake it. And at the same time, will defend the very things that allow them to be led by that kind of shit. And it's so crazy to see how much hypocritical nonsense is out there. And what I find funny about the comment about police officers with, the idea that there's people in there that don't do their job correctly or whatever it is. And Sarah made a point about it being, it infects a multitude of professions. Rick, I've been in education. This is my 17th year in education, and you've been in it for quite some time as well. And you can tell, there's people assume that we go into a classroom and that's a forum for us to just share politics and talk shit and sway opinions about shit. And that's the problem with our profession, right, is that there's people that actually fucking do that.
Yeah, but they've also added another component to it, and I think we talked about it 2 shows ago. Whereas the other problem with that, you're 100% right, but the other problem with that position is that going into a classroom and telling people the facts has become a liberal point of view.
Oh God, that's what I found funny about when I came in late, but that's what I found funny about what Stones was saying. When Stones was, he was praising the fact that he wanted to ask me. I'm still curious, Stones, as to what questions you wanted to ask me. But when you were talking,
the one was definitely, like I said, like where did police performing crowd control? What's the history that's rooted in that? It's certainly, if how did that start? Where did that start? And what is that rooted in? It
happened after Rodney King.
But it happened in the 60s before that.
67. If you want to go through the whole timeline of it, yeah. But you got to understand it's a growing concern. What I find funny is that the current administration right now, they have reverted back to the concept of the term law and order. And that is a term that was basically generated by the Nixon administration.
Yeah.
The Nixon administration, and then Reagan ran with it like wildfire. And here's the problem. Here's the problem with that is that I want you to take that term, right? I want you to take that terminology. And we all grew up with this is your brain on drugs fucking mentality and the Nancy Reagan, Ronald Reagan campaign. And that's when they really started to bring in, the early stages of mandatory minimum sentencing and all of that other shit, right? So that really affected most of the minority crowd when it came to prison sentences. But the idea of law and order, right, the concept of keeping everybody at bay, is really rooted and tied to lesser populations in the eyes of politics. It's rooted in the lower class citizenry who are always going to be looked at as problem starters, and they are always going to be plagued with that. So it's not so much, now they're not using fucking fire hoses, right? Now they're not using police dogs. We've got such technology now, and we've got this kind of intrusion, a combination of militarization and a combination of governments not wanting upheaval. Because what you're seeing right now, and I'm going to make this point one time right now, I'll probably bring it up again later, but I think what's really plaguing this country at the root of all of this, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, I don't give a fuck who it offends. Black people have power. They have a lot of fucking power, and they are more aware of it now. They're not even aware about how much power they actually have, not to the extent that they have. And that scares the living shit out of the government, out of local police departments. And that's the systemic racism that everybody talks about. The idea that...
Dude, the Black Lives Matters movement, again, I can't stress this enough for anybody that needs to fucking hear this. They don't care about race. They don't give a shit about what race you are. You are either with them or against them. And that's it. That's all they give a shit about.
Yes.
Here's the problem.
It's such
The
a
problem
fucking
with it
idea.
is there's a lot of fucking
the Panthers dealt with that shit too, man.
There's a lot of
the Panthers did that.
There's a lot of fucking willful ignorance connected to Black Lives Matter, which is a problem too. So like recently I went online because I keep seeing that all lives matter bullshit. And I was like, I don't know why you think when somebody says Black Lives Matter, they mean only Black Lives Matter. The childish response to that is so loud. And there's
it's a defensiveness.
because what it really means is Black Lives Matter too. So please stop murdering us on camera with a smirk on your fucking face.
When Murphy did the march, Murphy marched with the Black Lives Matters movement, and at the end of it, he made this big speech, and I'll never forget the words that he said. He goes, "And countless lives have been lost only because they're black." And I was like, "Oh, you fucking ass. You fucking asshole. That's not what the fuck they're saying." I mean, it is, but it's not, you dick.
In a way. I mean, look, can I tell you something? There's a lot of really good things that have come out of the last couple of weeks. Like, people can fucking complain about riots. They can complain about burning buildings. They can complain about all kinds of shit. But I'll tell you what, coast to coast right now, this is the first time I've ever seen any major fucking police and law enforcement reform. In my whole fucking life,
that's exactly my point. Is that now, right? You're at a level where this. I gotta be as upfront as I can about this. I don't think we've seen anything like this in the last 40 years. You're seeing, and it's not. I'm talking about police reform. I'm talking about across the board, right? And what's really fucking disgusting is the pandering by politicians about this shit. But the Democrats and the Republicans, they're both
watching
fucking
Nancy Pelosi and all those guys with the fucking
watching those people fucking kneel with the scarves. Go fuck yourself.
So cringy. So cringy.
That was the fucking dumbest shit the liberals could have fucking did at all.
That's
at
almost
that point.
as dumb as putting Joe Biden up as your presidential candidate.
Dude,
they're both funded. Both sides are funded by private prison systems. Of course they want to continue a divide to happen. They want to raise bait the conversation. They want people to be threatened about it.
You're not wrong. But I'll tell you, listen, so Justin made a comment about the replacement of those fire hoses and dogs, which I was talking about, the technological advancements that have now made crowd suppression very, very much easier for the police. The problem is they're not even aware of how upfront the fucking technology is that now everything's televised. You're fucked. So every little thing you do that seems to do your job, you're scrutinized to a point now where fuck it, man. Now they all know. See, the thing is, before this, Stones, this shit was always happening. Right? This shit was always happening. I try to stress this to people all the time. We look at this shit. We go, why is Black Lives Matter so big? The people that are critics of them are like, why is this still fucking around? And everybody rolls their eyes at all these political controversies that come up with the shooting of people in the fucking street and the mistreatment of people. It happens all the fucking time. It always has. So now, because it's out there and social media has expanded so large in the last, you got to keep into consideration this whole thing, right? Cell phones came out and didn't get big the way that we have them now until about 9 years ago. It's only been like 9 years that we have had.
Dude, in 2005, it was a whole other technology. Like, we might as well have cave people in 2005.
I was just thinking today, I was like, wow, man, I'm thinking to myself, when did I get my first smartphone? Oh my God, I didn't buy my first smartphone until like 2011, that's and there were people that had them. Don't get me wrong, I was slow to get to the party, but they weren't accessing social media, uploading things. Live didn't exist. Live this, live that, live feed video, all that shit didn't exist. So now you can see this shit as it's fucking happening for the last 4 years. And all that shit, this is why BLM is so big. All of that shit has been going on for fucking decades.
And
in
also,
the areas
also
now,
the other thing,
I just
the
wanna
other thing
rebuttal
about
a
making
point that you
everything
made,
live.
Rob.
Hold on. The other thing about making everything live too is what you're seeing is a shift in public opinion about what's acceptable and what's not, what's good and what's bad, what's evil and what's good. And some people like look at things that happen that used to be just, oh yeah, put them in jail, oh yeah, do this, and we're going, I don't think it's as simple as that. I think things are more complex than we thought they were. Like a riot is not
No doubt.
necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. Let's talk about this.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Seth.
but destruction of public property is never a great thing. But you know,
No. But I'll tell you what. It is an unfortunate byproduct of a necessity, in my opinion. Because
streets be
listen.
talking, as Dave Chappelle would
If
say.
George Floyd died, and people took to the streets with signs, we would all sort of remember it in a couple of months. There would have been no reform, and nothing
Right.
would have happened. If you go out to the fucking streets and you burn down a couple of targets and you show the fucking cops that you could fight back if you really wanted to, all of a sudden we're seeing a bunch of fucking reform. I do not believe this reform would be happening if we responded the way we responded to Eric Garner or Trayvon Martin. I
Rick.
don't think, and I have proof because those things did happen not even that long ago, and fucking nothing happened.
Rick,
Nothing.
Why a Target and why not your local municipality?
Can I tell you? Hold on. First off, I agree with you, but let me tell you something else about the Target that people aren't talking about. You know what the first thing that was removed from that Target was? The first thing that was looted? The first area of the store that went empty, do you know what it was? The food. The food.
Well, that's a telltale sign now, isn't it?
Right.
It says a lot. It says an
I
awful
mean,
lot.
that's intelligent fucking looting. I'll tell you that. That's
And here's the fucked up part. If you listen to the Sublime song, April 26, 1992, when I saw her, she came out, she was getting
Right.
some peppers. Right? It's the same thing. Pampers, I'm sorry. Whatever, it's a necessity. It was a life necessity the person went in for. Not a fucking stereo.
Bradley Knoll was pointing that out after the beating of Rodney King.
In
right?
1992.
So Rob, I just want to bring up a point about the Black Panthers because you had made the point before that the Panthers you're either with us or against us. The Panthers, that was during a time where they were trying to they said either desegregate or we're tearing the system down, and desegregation was actually not what they wanted to do. That was the lesser of the two things that they wanted to do. They wanted to tear it all down. They begrudgingly accepted desegregation.
Well, yeah. That's the problem with it is that there's a fine line between anarchism and a political movement, right? That's where shit gets all fucked up. And you also have to think about this, Stones, in terms of historical memory. A majority of the people that are working within the government, right, and the people that are of age now that would be venting about that shit lived through it and remember the militantness of the Black Panther Party. Never actually paid attention to anything fucking going on. And most of those people, it's the same thing with war. Most of those people despise the Vietnam War, but still love all this patriotic war shit that's going on now. They just have selective memory as to what they want to like and dislike. And that's highly problematic. I agree with you. I'm totally agreeing with you in terms of, what they stood for, what was going on, all that shit. But if you're living today, I would go so far as to say I would think a decent amount of the population believes that in a history lesson, Malcolm X existed, Martin Luther King existed, the Black Panther Party existed, and racism ended. And they feel like the world moved on from the 1970s and that we just left it in the back door. They left out the AIDS epidemic. They left out all of the impoverished areas, the urban decline, the fucked up renters, all the shit that happened. Then the drug crisis in the late 80s and early 90s, the prison system reform that went on that changed everything to privatize prison systems. They didn't know any of that because who the fuck educated them on that? So there's a 30-year gap where all this shit happened. And now we have access to all of this information, and they're going to fucking deny it as conspiracy theory because they weren't taught it in 10th grade in 1960 fucking 9.
And like you said, dude, like you said, we only had fucking smartphones maybe 9 years ago is when they got fucking big. So when you think about the private prison system, we're talking about the Clintons. We're talking about the mid-90s.
In reference to what Stones was bringing up earlier about what people talk about in a classroom, Stones, I have to just express this. The idea of that part of history, right, didn't exist in curriculums at all across the board until about a decade ago, right? Oh. So there's and I'll tell you from personal experience, okay? I created. This is how sad this is. 5 years ago, created an African American history class at my institution because we didn't even recognize it. We didn't recognize it. It was involved in every curriculum in every other school. We didn't have it. And that's not because of the institution I work for. It's just because that's how slow the ball moved to get an integration of both that and Latin American history into classes. There are things that are left out of history books up until about 15 years ago that people just are not aware of. Literally
Dude,
not aware.
I got to be honest with you, man. If I go into a literature course with a writer who's African American, I go on guard a little bit. Because I have a feeling things are going to get thrown at me. Like people are going to be like, why do we need to learn this? You're right,
Bro,
man. You're right.
You're not wrong. The absence of it, man. And it's not just, I know right now we're talking about African-American, literature, African-American history, but it's the same across the board for Hispanic or Latin American history and literature.
LGBTQ?
Native American history. I don't think we're there yet. And I'll tell you why. I think that with the LGBTQ, I always get I throw the letters out there so fast.
No, you got it.
So I think the problem with that is that because that was such a large push in the late 70s, early 80s, think about you have to think about it in terms of timelines and how long it takes for things to become popular. This is becoming popular now, but the wave of movements like feminist history hadn't really been taught until after Betty Friedan wrote the Feminist Manifesto. So you've got like a good 20 to 30 years before it starts showing up in women's history classes and becomes a relevant course and the literature becomes relevant. So I think the community that runs under that flag is going to have to wait a good decade before that has become the 40-year cementing of them. I mean, they're still fighting to the point where they are so behind the eight ball in terms of social acceptance, where you're just starting to see certain groups we're just now seeing certain states pick up, the same-sex marriage laws, the legalization.
Isn't it crazy?
And can I tell you something else? Can I tell you one other thing too? Is that here's what I respect about millennials and Gen Z, and this is what we're seeing in these riots. They're sick and tired of the wait that you're talking about. They're sick and fucking tired of looking at something and logically going, "That's not right. Why do I have to wait 20 fucking years for this to change? This doesn't make any fucking sense." And I'm hoping, for as right as you are, that you're wrong and that community's history and the acceptance moves faster because the younger generations are so much more accepting, if that makes sense.
I think what we're seeing, what we're seeing is that human beings are starting to realize that there are human-to-human interactions regardless of race, sex, age. Age obviously plays a role in minorities and things like that, but there's human-to-human interactions, and then there's human-to-stuff interactions, and every human-to-human interaction should have the same right across the board, regardless of what genitalia you have, and human-to-things interactions should be the same across the board, regardless of your economic status. It's insane that the resistance exists against that principle.
Stones, are you saying all lives matter?
Yeah, but so is Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter says all lives matter.
I want to read the comments for just a second here. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna read some comments here. Let's see. From how far back do I go? Oh, rubber bullets. Let's see. Oh my God, there's so many comments I missed. What the hell is happening here? Ray is in the chat. Camden was peaceful too. Also, Nork. You know what, Stones? You and I talked about this. I texted you and I said I felt like Nork was going to be peaceful. You worried about Nork, and I said I think it's going to be peaceful because the mayor came out of Newark and said what happened at George Floyd was bullshit, and I felt like she stood with the fucking citizens in that. Let's see. Justin said, I'm sorry, this is skipping a little. No more fire hoses and
here's the
dogs.
thing.
Sure.
Like,
Oh no, we already talked about that.
Newark and Camden, I don't think that I wasn't there personally for that, but that didn't at least outwardly appear as though it was a photo opportunity. What I felt in Asbury Park was more of a photo op than sincerity.
Maybe. Let's see. Carl Cowan says down with Joe Biden, dude. I look. Listen.
Yeah.
Can I just? I don't want to get hung up on this comment because I want to keep going. When it comes to Joe Biden, I'm being really influenced to disrespect myself and vote for that utter piece of shit because I am actually feeling like I have to succumb to the lesser of two evils now because I can't imagine 4 more years of Donald fucking Trump, and I fucking despise Joe Biden. Let's see. So glad to see the show back in action. Been missing this talk, Carl. It's so good to fucking see you, brother. Let's see. Justin said rubber bullets were created to be shot by snipers and/or officers with the highest marksmanship. They're meant to be fired as a ricochet off the ground as a slow projectile and reduce the force of impact, not fired point blank at someone's face by the first asshole with a badge who grabbed it from the armory rack.
Yeah, man.
Someone said the Target was also a loss prevention test store. I have not researched that claim. The Target that got looted, was the test store. I have to be honest, Laura, I don't know. I'm not really sure what that means. If it was an LP test, they would have made multiple arrests already. There's a new camera system in 4K ready on the... let's see. All my schooling, I've never once heard of Langston Hughes. Can
you like think about that for 1 second? Like I saw that comment and I'm like, wait a minute. What? You know how simple it is to mention in a class Langston Hughes for 30 fucking seconds. Like I bring up in my class Angela Davis, right? Can you still hear me here? Or am I talking to myself?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Angela Davis. Okay. Angela Davis is one of the most influential fucking people you could mention outside of obviously the big two. And I say that so sadly, right? I have been teaching African and African American history for a long time, but to say the big two, people know who Martin Luther King is. They know who Malcolm X is. They know violent and nonviolent protests. They have no idea who the fuck W.E.B. Du Bois is. They have no idea who the fuck Booker T. Washington is, who Marcus Garvey is. I mean, they know the people that they have glorified in a one page out of one chapter in their book about what happened during slavery, what happened during the civil rights movement. They know that a couple great white men passed civil rights reforms, and it wasn't even the guys that wanted to do it. They were forced to fucking do it. And then they have no mention of anybody like Angela Davis, Langston Hughes, anybody from the Harlem Renaissance, anybody that made an impact in the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Even my personal education on African American history in this country, I'm beginning to realize is totally more abysmal than I thought it was. Today is Juneteenth, and there are things that I'm learning. Like, I didn't know that the youngest person ever executed in this country was an African American boy. Of I believe 12 years old.
Emmett fucking Till, bro.
I got to be honest with you, I never knew that story.
It's Emmett Till. He got his ass beat to shit, and his mother had an opened casket because he had been so fucking beat up. He got shot, strung up, lynched, beaten, and then thrown in a fucking river. And
no. I'm talking about the kid that was executed via electric chair.
Right, yeah, different story, yeah.
You mean legally
executed? Yeah, right.
By the state,
You know what half of these people were executed for? What they were lynched for? I mean, they were allowing lynch mobs to break into courthouses and drag people out and tie them up to a tree in a public
and
spectacle.
to be straight, you said allowing them to, and that's
Yeah.
the part that has led
Yeah.
to the
Yeah,
riots
no.
we just lived through.
Completely allowed to. A failed fucking justice system who both in a local and federal level let anything fucking go. And we're talking about because a mob showed up. Not because it was peaceful protests, but because 20 guys showed up to a fucking courthouse
Right.
and dragged somebody out on an accusation that they whistled at a white woman,
Right.
or that they fucking looked at somebody the wrong
And
way.
it is scaring me.
That's what we're talking about. And that shit didn't happen a fucking 100 years ago. We're talking about 50 within the lifetimes of all of the parents of people
Oh,
that
but
are
you
growing
didn't
up.
hear of racism's eradicated.
8 African Americans have been lynched in the last week?
Yeah.
Listen,
And I gotta
Yeah.
listen to people. I gotta listen to people throw me fucking little fucking smart ass comments suggesting that it's jumping the gun to assume that they were lynched, that it wasn't suicide.
the last guy in California, right? He got fucking blatantly lynched. You know what they said it was? A probable suicide. After
All
a
of them, dude. They keep saying
After-
it's suicide
dude.
over and over again.
After a week before, fucking 10 miles from where that guy got lynched, another guy was lynched. You mean to tell me that within 14 fucking days, 2 black men tied nooses around their necks and hung themselves from trees in
And
California?
since then, there has been 6 more.
Yeah, Texas is blowing up right now, isn't it?
And you have to listen.
I
I said earlier
Listen,
that there are good cops, but the good cops right now, the reason why it's important for good cops to be afraid is because they need to understand exactly how fucking bad it is to have shitheads in their ranks.
I urge people right now to go check out, when you have free time, go on to the SPLC.com website, right? Southern Poverty Law Center, and look up, there's a hate map up there, and you can find out where all of the registered hate groups are in the United States. And then there is, if you Google search the Southern Poverty Law Center, the Equal Justice Initiative, okay? Equal Justice Initiative has a lynching map. If you just go look, just literally go look at the level between 1865 when the Civil War was fought, right? And I know that we're celebrating Juneteenth, right? Which I find kind of comical because we have glorified and nationalized a holiday around when slavery ended, and slavery didn't end. That is the biggest crock of fucking shit possible, right? So it didn't end. It took a different shape. And you know what it did? It didn't only just take a shape towards the people that were no longer enslaved. It started to encompass everybody. And that's the fucking problem, is that we celebrate it in a way that, you know, we give gratitude to the Civil War, we give gratitude to the Emancipation Proclamation, which is also questionable, and we look at the passage of the 13th Amendment, which is all well and good. But if you read the 13th Amendment, it didn't fucking end slavery. It just replaced it with mass imprisonment.
Imprisonment, right.
Right. So I think it's funny, but like, I'm not going to go out there and fucking fly a flag because we celebrate in a day that just gave people a piece of solace to go off. It's not reality. That's what people don't understand. They believe all that fucking bullshit rhetoric, and they've never taken it.
Can I tell you the one thing that offends me every time I hear somebody say the good cop argument? And granted, again, I agree with the BLM movement. I agree with them saying we know good cops. I agree with everybody across the board saying we know that there's good cops out there, okay? Here's my problem with every good cop that's out there. Why aren't they all getting together and screaming, get rid of no-knock warrants? Let me tell you a personal story of mine. I was living in a garden-style apartment locally, and my neighbor downstairs, he was rolling a joint in his bedroom, him and his family. He said that he heard a banging at the door. He thought it was his sister screwing with him at first, and then he realized that someone was trying to get into the house. Then as he ran towards the door to attack whatever was coming into the house, he grabbed a broom, threw it at the door as it flung open, and it was police coming through the door, then with their guns drawn. And then he went down to the ground because he said that he saw the guns out. And I said, dude, do you not have any idea how close you were to getting shot and killed? And they had the wrong apartment. They were supposed to be at the apartment next door for a drug bust. So that's like, that happened to the guy that lived below me. So to think that these no-knock warrants aren't botched regularly is a complete misunderstanding of how screwed up that situation is. And where are all the good cops saying we need to end this? Where do they exist? They all know how bad they are. They all know how dangerous of a situation that is. And what are you preventing? You're preventing what? Somebody from flushing pills down the toilet and getting away with it?
Sarah, you brought up fraternities earlier. Is that not a fraternity?
I mean, obviously, I've read. There's been a lot of articles that have come out from either former cops or present cops, sort of anonymously. I've read several articles, especially in the past couple weeks, and the one I read just the other day, the headline was something like, what happens when one of the quote-unquote good cops tries to do something about it? And it was basically, I don't know if he was still a cop or not, talking about trying to report something that happened with someone he worked with who broke a kid's nose and wanted him to think up a story together to explain it. And the guy just reported everything that had actually happened the way he saw it, and all of the hell he went through after from his bosses and the whole fucking department, the whole entire department, and the harassment that he went through and the harassment he continues to go through because of it. So yeah, it is a fucking fraternity. And I'm sorry, when you have a toxic way of thinking like that, I don't believe that those situations are usually savable by the same people who were a part of it. I don't believe that the guys in a fraternity who fucking haze someone to death can then be reformed into a fraternity that goes out for community cleanup every weekend. Like, I don't believe it works that way, because once you have that mindset, you believe you're better than the people around you and that they're the fucking clowns because they don't know the shit you know. They haven't seen the shit you see. And that is the fucking infection.
Yeah. Yeah. So my plea to all the good cops is go against the obvious wrong of the no-knock warrant. Go against the obvious injustices that exist within your system.
And I agree with you 100%.
Speak out against them.
The more police departments, like police departments are outing themselves now. Like you had, I don't quote me on this because I'm not sure, but I think it was Baltimore. The cops that shoved that fucking 75-year-old man down, the blood started.
That was New York,
okay.
Buffalo.
Okay, right, you're right, Buffalo. And then 57 fucking cops all resigned simultaneously in solidarity with the guy, and it's like, dude,
right.
Like you guys are out. You know what? Okay, goodbye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out,
Bro,
man. Because
bro,
here's the problem.
here's the problem with the good.
The problem with the good cop mentality is if I'm a black man and I'm 30 years old, and you tell me out of 100 fucking cops in my neighborhood, one of them just kills people with total fucking impunity, every time I get pulled over, I'm gonna fucking piss myself. It's not fucking good enough. How can a fucking organization be trusted with the fragility of a community if they allow one to just keep rolling around? And that's what we saw. That's what we saw with George. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If you ask the cops, they all swear that they know who the quote-unquote hotheads are in their departments.
They need to go.
So why do you guys just let it persist?
Listen. I'm tonight I talked to Damien. And, you know, Damien runs his own dojo, and he's probably the most, in terms of a fighter, he's probably the most dangerous person you could ever meet in your entire life, right?
Right. So I'm sure he's trained some law enforcement, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Now, here's the thing about him, though. He's also the first person I know who would keep the peace above everything else, no matter what.
Right.
No matter what weapon anybody throws at him, no matter how many fucking people there are, he is the number one first person who's going to reach for fucking peace.
Right.
And he is unbelievably skilled at
Can we
fucking-
change the name of police officers to peacekeepers?
If they keep the peace, then see, my problem is it's going to be a euphemism like the Patriot Act. You know, the Patriot has got nothing to do with being a patriot. It has to do with being fucking fisted by your government because they think you're selling dime bags of weed. Like,
Oh, don't start with that nonsense.
oh, give me a fucking break, dude. The Patriot Act has been invoked to fucking bust weed dealers so many more times than it's been invoked to find
Bro,
terrorists. It's
you know
a
what I find
euphemism. It's a
funny?
George Carlin euphemism.
You know what I find funny about the Patriot Act is the evolution of that. So can I give you like a 10-second rush up of what that is? The Patriot Act has been around since the John Adams administration. Literally the fucking second president. Like, it has been used in every way, shape, or form over the longevity of our country to investigate people who are suspect based on what the government's definition of suspect is.
Yeah.
So whatever they feel is derogatory, they're probably listening to this podcast right fucking now under the Patriot Act. And they're fucking, they have access to fucking everything. And you fucking agree to it. We agree to it to be on this fucking shit right here. But the reality is they are using it under the guidance that everybody's a suspect terrorist, everybody's a suspect communist, everybody's going to overthrow the motherfucking government. And they call it the Patriot Act to keep America fucking awesomely patriotic. And the reality is most of the people that they're looking at are the people that think they're the patriots because they went out and bought 95 AR-15s.
You mean the
and
militias?
they're being watched. Yeah, they're being watched by the government, and they think they're patriots. And the very act that they're named after is fucking watching them as a threat to the fucking government, which is hysterical.
These fucking police and military fans.
So me and Rick actually had this conversation within the past couple of days where we were talking about, because I asked him, I was like, look, I know Antifa is a legitimate organization, but is it real? Like I keep hearing about it. But I don't see
It's an
anything from it.
ideology. First off,
Right.
it's an ideology, and let me tell you something. Most people who are against Antifa or the million other ways I've heard it pronounced actually don't seem to understand that it stands for anti-fascist.
Yeah, bro.
Right.
And as far as
but
I
you
know,
have-
as a 41-year-old American, I was
That's
raised
the one thing we
thinking
don't want.
we don't like fascists.
Right.
All of
You
the
know
people-
what? But there, but
That's what I was told. I don't
The
know.
three
if that's true.
percenters, three percenters
that-
exist. Sovereign citizens exist. 3%ers exist. Boogaloo boys. There's countless hard
Dude.
right-wing militias that actually exist, and no one's bringing them up.
Dude, no
No,
one's
shut
bringing.
up.
And again,
The
let me
the
tell you
people
something.
The people that hate Antifa are the people that grew up in a generation that were so scared of the big red machine and are championing,
Yeah.
rallying around an actual fucking fascist
Right.
and are mad that there's a militant group trying to keep it from fucking happening
Right.
while they're scared about their own country for the last 60 fucking years.
You have to stand in awe of
You have
Fox
to be so
News.
fucking sort of stupid.
You have
like
to
you
sta-
have to
you have
be.
to stand in awe of Fox News and the empowerment and the education, the master class that they have given to a population when it comes to deflection, selfishness, and just self-aggrandizing gratification. Like, they have really provided a master class in that shit because they're the first fucking thing I think of when I think of Antifa being a bad thing. Of course, any group is going to have some lunatics in it. I understand that. But, like, it means anti-fascist. Like, my grandfather stole a tank when he was in the army and drove it halfway across Europe and crashed it through a fucking Nazi concentration camp wall to save his own brother, right? He killed Nazis. I don't understand the level the level of brainwashing that it takes to make this many patriots hate anti-fascists, it's almost impressive if it wasn't so frightening and depressing.
If it isn't anti-American, what is it? Like, if you're anti-fascism, how are you a patriot? How are you pro-American? I don't understand that.
Well, what they do is they put it under the umbrella that Antifa is also against far right ideology, and that's
they're against racists. They're against
right. That's it's bananas, dude. Clearly, but okay. So let me just tell you something else that I've observed over the past few months. So we had the whole reopen crowd. We had the right wingers go out and protest to reopen the country, and then we had the BLM movement come out. Let me tell you about the difference in numbers and the faith that I have at this point in what actual like people who get it and that are good, decent people, and how many more of them there are than the other side that exists.
Oh, they blatantly outnumber it. They blatantly outnumber it, man.
I'm happy to. You would never be able to tell that with the dialogue that happens.
Well, that's because I think a large amount of the do the right thing fucking population just keeps their mouth shut because it's not worth fucking getting involved in an argument with fucking idiots, and that's what it comes down to. There are a lot of people that I respect that make very good points for conservatism. And conservatism is a great thing. I actually believe myself to be multiple types of conservative. But the problem is you can't be conservative and liberal at the same time in the eyes of either one of the extreme right or left. And the people that are on the left, or at least in the middle, that stand up for what's right on both sides, they exist. They're just quiet. They don't want to waste their fucking time because the people on the fringe ends of both things are fucking stupid. I hate extreme liberals. I hate extreme Republican Democrats.
But hold on, but I agree with you. But the problem that I'm seeing nowadays is you take somebody like AOC, okay? And the amount of conservatives that I know that call her an extremist is upsetting. Because AOC is she?
No, she's extreme.
Extreme how? In what way?
I think Stones.
If she got her agenda through complete, if she, okay, granted, you ask for a mile and you get an inch or whatever in government, right? You ask for a lot more than what you're going to get.
Okay,
but if
whatever.
you actually,
just tell me what's extreme.
If you look into the depths of the Green New Deal and you look into her interests on trying to create equity, it's a system that could lead to bankruptcy.
I have one question about that as far as the Green New Deal goes. When you're facing an extreme problem and it requires an extreme solution, is the person who comes up with a hopeful chance at a solution the extreme one, or is the problem that was created by people that ignore any possible solution the extreme one?
No, I think that the problem.
I'm not saying all of the Green New Deal is bad. I'm saying there are parts of it that are so far out there that, as far as her being labeled extreme, it does add up.
I think that Stone's point about what is involved in the Green New Deal is extreme in the moment, right? I think the problem with politics and the politics that we're in today is much like technology or the progression that we've gone through in the last, say, 30 or 40 years. It's become so incrementally smaller in terms of progress. So the progress now is, we go from flip phones to smartphones, just like that. Next thing is holograms, like that quickly. So now with legislation being passed, it's like for the side of AOC, it's the progressive change is now so fucking fast. It's like, let's do this now. She's pissed off and she's arrogantly wild about the proposals that she gives. So the proposals that she gives are all or nothing. And that's the problem. That's a
Right.
problem for conservatives. That's a problem for a majority of liberals because they realize.
I agree.
But
with
the
you.
way that Stones is saying you got to go for a mile to get an inch, right? She's going for 7 miles without
Good
even
for her,
having
then.
an inch yet.
Dude, I'm
Yeah,
sick
sure.
of the inch.
Yeah, but,
Sure,
yeah, but
but
that's
because the
people
problem,
be
Stones,
mad.
It is that like if you give nothing to people that need it for mile after mile after mile, at some point expecting 7 miles when you're owed thousands doesn't seem extreme
That's
to
what I
me.
mean.
I
Well,
think it's extreme to constantly keep people in poverty for decades is extreme. But
That's
we're
the
more
problem
used
with
to it.
American politics is
We're not used to extreme politics when it's politics that care about us. We're more numb to extreme politics that hurt people, kill people, imprison
Sarah,
people. To
Sarah,
me,
their
that's
politics,
extreme.
historically speaking, they're politics that take power from the elitist oligarchy and give it to the proletariat. And what's fucking stupid about it, right? What the thing that gets me the most is that in any way, shape, or form, right? And this is the biggest problem I have. In any way, shape, or form, immigrant populations, poverty-stricken populations, drug-enforced population, whatever you want to fucking call it. The fact that people, this is what the system has done. It's pitted middle class, barely making it by fucking people against poverty-stricken people, minority, not against the people that actually put these motherfuckers where they are, because the people that have just moderately hit the above middle class line feel themselves above the poverty.
She says that all the time. It's like, and I say it all the time, it's upper poor versus lower poor.
Dude, the amount of people I look at that are like, I'm fucking rich. You're like, dude, you're not even a fucking ounce of rich.
If you're still using money, you're not rich.
Yeah. If you are using a credit card to buy your boat,
A
and
black
you took
credit card
to buy your business, you are not rich. Rich people pay in cash. Rich people don't pay at all.
Yeah, they also
rich
pay
people,
in assets and power. They pay in power.
Rich people get fucking deals made with politicians. They don't fucking. You are this big in the fish, and you have a political fucking position against minorities, against cops, against poor people. Who the fuck are you, dude? Get off your fucking horse. If you just lived your life the way you should in your little mediocre middle class fucking life with the shit that makes you happy moderately from day to day and keeps you from crying yourself to fucking sleep, be happy with it. Stop being so fucking arrogant about what you think you know and don't fucking know. Those people are on another fucking level you'll never fucking see, and that's the reality. That's what Carlin said for years, dude. That's the opportunity of the what do you call it? The illusion of choice.
Yes.
Right? The illusion of choice.
But
that's
here's
what
the
happens.
deal. Listen, going back to AOC is not the illusion of choice anymore. She won fair and square, and if she's an extremist, to me, when somebody says a politician is an extremist anymore, somebody who was voted into office, I go, oh, what you're saying is they have ideas that mean real change, not
I get
slow
it.
bullshit change.
But-
Yeah, but Rick, that also applies on the other end of that coin. That also applies with a lot of things that go against your interests.
Like what?
Stones.
Far right, Trump.
Okay. So hold on. So what you're talking about then goes to our original conversation, and the original conversation is: are there two sides, or is there right and wrong? Trump is not a side; he's just incorrect.
No, Trump's made a point to be a side.
Yeah,
He's a side.
No. He's created a side, but there's plenty of people who'd like to think that their shit-ass trash beliefs are a difference of opinion, but it's not. It's just a dangerous incorrectness.
Stones.
Again, it's too complicated. You can't. Okay, we
It's not
started
complicated.
this conversation off. We started this conversation off talking about how riots are a complex thing. A president is a complex thing. As
Not
bad
in
as
this
Trump
case.
is, as bad as Trump is, just like every president that has done awful atrocities across
Straight
the
up,
board,
including
every
Obama.
one of them has also done some level of good. You can't take away Trump's federalization of animal abuse.
No, I can't. No, I can't. But
You know what I mean?
But I
Like-
can say that the good doesn't outweigh the bad logically.
Right, but the people that follow Trump say the same
I don't-
exact thing about Obama, and
I
don't
say the
think it's
same thing about
necessarily-
Obama. The problem is people throw that shit at me all the time. Oh, you would have voted for
but-
Hillary?
yeah,
Oh, you support
Stones-
Obama?
Stones-
No, I think
Stones-
Obama's an asshole and Hillary's an asshole and
But
Bill's
I'm
an
not
asshole.
I'm not saying it to be defensive for Trump.
Stones isn't trying to take sides and make an equation to this shit. What he's trying to say is that, and I've had to come to terms with it too, because personally, I just didn't like Trump as a person. But as an administration, the ship is still afloat. There's a lot of shit we could critique. There's a lot of bad things we could fucking say about his demeanor, his behavior, and all that shit. Here's the problem with that: is that you can read. God, I hate fucking saying this. Oh, give me a second. God, just
but I'm just saying, as far as your point, Rick, you're just saying that he's incorrect. Yes, he's, for the most part, on the grand scheme of things, he is incorrect. But that you can't just say that and then wipe away the
Stones.
thing.
Would you?
No, but
I'm
I
gonna-
can say that the good does not outweigh the bad. And
Like,
if the
let me-
bad is fucking 1,000,000 pounds heavier than the good, then is the trade-off worth it?
Right. Can I? So this is the way I view it, because I love watching you two go back and forth over shit like this. So I think that Rick is 100% correct. Right? It's like a good 96 to 4% of bad outweighing good. But
take
but
that.
the 4% is actually kind of good. The 4% does make sense, but his verbal skills and his blatant 1960s fucking mentality is just terrible, and that kind of just overflows everything. So, and I think that from a certain extent, Stones, I want to ask you a question after I make this statement, and I want to know what your input is on this, because I kind of sit with you on the AOC topic, but so Trump. I've had to swallow this, and I'm going to say this one time, and I'll never fucking say it again on live. Fucking so. Can you see my face?
Oh, I can't
Yeah.
wait.
Okay. When Trump talks, when he says things like words, like when the words come out, there have been many instances in the last 3.5 years where I take my glasses off, I cringe, I pour a shot, I turn the television off, and then I reflect. I have to reflect. There's always reflection, because I know it's going to come up in a class. It's going to come up in discussion. I'm friends with tons of bleeding heart liberals. I'm friends with people on Facebook that are hardcore fucking just outside the box fucking right wing conspiracy theorists. Sometimes I get what he means. He's just fucking terrible.
No, dude, that's not a stupid thing to say. I get what
Rick.
he means sometimes.
He is the worst English
Yeah.
fucking.
And not
you
just
could-
him. Not just. Can I give you a different example from somebody else, so at least I can relate to you? I always thought when Mitt Romney said that corporations were people and everybody went crazy, that what he really meant was corporations are made up of people. So I get what you mean.
that corporations created the stigma of capitalistic individuals. Like, you can read between the lines and find
Yeah.
knowledge in anything.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not
but wait,
saying-
hold on.
But
though. So
it
Trump
doesn't
isn't doing
change
okay, and
his
it's the reason why a lot of
tar-filled heart.
every politician gets good and bad press both, and this is exactly the reason why, is because people are overinterpreting what they say all the time, and politicians, as a rule, and Trump is the epitome of it, is he'll say 5 things in one breath that mean 5 completely different things. So no matter what the outcome of what he says, he said the thing, but he also said 4 other things that aren't the outcome. So depending on what news you get, you're going to have news that are going to report the 4 things saying that he's out of his mind. And you're gonna have the one thing that
I don't think it has. I'm not even taking reporting into consideration. I'm
Stones.
talking about literally just a transcript of the words the man says hurts
He
my.
said-
Oh
he
my
said-
God, it's so painful. It's so
he's like,
painfully
oh, the numbers
stupid.
are low, but they might get
Stones,
high, but you don't
Stones.
know like if they're gonna get
Could you
higher. or they-
imagine being a sign language interpreter in the time of Trump? Like if you had the job of being his sign language interpreter,
It's kind of like when someone tells you not to cross your.
level of willpower that human being has to have, because a lot of sign language has to do with facial expression, and like I just can't even the willpower involved in just stoically doing that job.
You know when you're younger and somebody tells you not to cross your eyes because your eyes will stay like that. Could you imagine the sign language interpreter's face is kind of like because they don't know if you're supposed to make the angry face or like the laughy face or like the like what expression do you give when someone's like there's good people on both sides while the KKK's lighting torches and fucking burning down Charlottesville, fucking Virginia.
So bad. It's so bad. But that's the thing. Like anybody who says Trump isn't a racist, I can't believe that people say, to get to the point with the apartment complex.
Dude, but here's the reason why people say that. Man, I'm sorry, not to cut you off, man. The reason why people say Trump isn't a racist is because a lot of people who think that you have to be a conscious, active racist to be a racist. Like you can't be an unconscious, passive, and he's not passive, and he's blatant for fuck's sake. But the thing is that Trump doesn't think that he thinks less of someone because of their skin color, but he does think that.
To get the federal government to have enough evidence against you to get them to think that they can win against you in a multi-million-dollar lawsuit in court makes you a racist. You are clearly racist.
Trump is a racist.
It's mind-boggling that everybody forgets that
not only is he a
thing.
racist, he also thinks women are stupid. He
Yes!
just does. He just does, dude. It's not, and again, this is a character flaw. So like Rob, when you say he says things about politics where you kind of get what he means, yeah, I do too. But like, again, this goes back to the trade-off. Like, what are we trading?
Well, no, that's the thing is that if you listen, and I wasn't the biggest fan of Obama at the end of his career.
I'm not now, nor was I the whole.
Right?
I voted for him once, not the second time.
I highly encouraged his election. I really enjoyed his first term, but I'll tell you what, I would give maybe my right arm to hear someone speak at least close to as eloquently as he did, because when Trump speaks, you're like, fucking Christ, just get through it. I know what you mean.
God,
but
you're
you're
right.
So what? So Biden, the guy who mashes words together to try and filter
Nope. Stop right there, because you're doing what these people do, and
Yes, you
I
are.
fucking hate that shit. I'm not talking about Biden.
Me neither.
Listen, I didn't mind. I'll be honest with you. I didn't mind Biden if he ran right after Obama. Not whatever this decrepit, crazy person is that's fucking talking right now. It's like watching.
By the way, him running right after Obama is not okay either. Him running at all is not okay.
Party happening?
Let me tell you something. If he
It's
wins
not
the election,
party's time.
if he wins the election this year, I will vote for Bernie at 90 next election.
110%.
Just to
110%. Listen to me. I said earlier that like this, the shit is so bad that I'm actually almost getting to the point where I'm willing to vote against my own heart and soul. I hate Joe Biden almost equally as much as I hate. No, not almost. Exactly as much as I hate Donald Trump. But I have more faith. I have more faith in the heart of more people on the Democratic side than I do on the Republican side. And I'd like to think at least if I decide to cave.
Just remember
and
that
vote for
Democratic side is the same side that said to use Trump as a way to boost Hillary Clinton. The same one that basically gave him how many fucking military powers that he shouldn't have
100%.
ever gotten, and gave him all this fucking money and gave him all this shit. Like, those are the same people you're talking about. There aren't
listen.
two fucking parties.
Yeah, we are fucked. We are
Sarah,
completely fucked. Like, sooner or later, we have to have that conversation, right, everybody? Like, we do have to have the conversation, the fact that we are utterly fucked, that we are arguing two sides of the same coin to some extent. Like, I'd like to think that on the Democratic side, there are people who I at least think put people first enough to where if Biden were president, they'd have at least a louder voice. But I don't know, because I think there's a difference between Democrat and corporate Democrat. I think that people think we live in a two-party system, but we actually live in like a five-party system right now.
Dude, the current sitting president is a Democrat card holder and donator.
Right.
And he literally just adopted the Republican Party because he couldn't beat the Clintons in their own primaries.
Then does that make him a Democrat, or does that just make him an opportunist?
No,
Opportunists. They're all opportunists. What the fuck, man?
it makes him fucking brilliant in a way that people don't understand. He's a savant.
He might have
Our
started
government
brilliant,
is
but
putting
he's insane
our
now.
government puts our population into crisis mode consistently. Right now, if the fear is that if Trump gets another 4 years, that we're going to lose the democracy and we're going to go into a dictatorship. So the only alternative to get us out of it is Joe Biden. And then the other side's going to say, "Oh man, Joe Biden. Well, that's leading us right towards communism." So then they're going to get banned again. You know what I mean? Like it's all fear based.
Anybody that honestly thinks that Joe Biden leads to communism, the guy who's like, get rid of Social Security, fuck Medicaid, fuck Medicare, fuck this.
Joe Biden is going to forget he's the president a year into being the president.
Yeah, I know. He's going to think Trump got reelected.
Dude, let me ask you this. This is my question. This is the question that I have been bothered with for the last 2 years. Based on I spent the last 3 years of Obama's presidency hearing people talk about how divided our country was. He was the great divider. And I had made a comment in October of 2016 where I said, listen, if you thought Obama was the great divider, wait till you watch this election, because it really didn't matter which one got elected. The country was going to get fucking blown apart. My question right now is, what now? Because it doesn't matter who. It's how long do we have left in the democratic republicanism that runs this country to where democracy melts and turns into complete and utter fucking upheaval.
So does a third party get birthed out of this chaos?
Third parties don't win. Our population
Right
is
now
too
they don't.
Right now, they
No, our
don't, but does it change?
Unfortunately, Stones, the time for that was now or never, because Bernie Sanders was the closest person in decades upon decades upon decades that had the momentum to actually get a third party, to actually give a third party a real fighting actual chance in a major election.
The problem with Bernie Sanders is that for 40 years, Bernie Sanders has had the same message. A beautiful, eloquent message about the determined thought process of elevating everybody up to an equal status. The problem is nobody pays attention to lower level politics. They don't pay attention to their own government, which the whole country is fucking based on. They pay attention to the political contest between two figureheads at the end of November of every 4 years, beginning of November of every 4 years. And that's all they tune into it like fucking like reality television.
Right.
We're
It's just
doing
the
it
Cola
now.
Wars. It's the Cola Wars over and over again.
They don't care. They don't care about what people are actually saying. They don't follow senators.
So hold on. So what is the future of all of this, guys? Honestly, like when I look at fucking millennials and I look at Gen Z, I see two things. I see a lot of apathy when it comes to politics, or almost like an intellectual disregard of politics. And then I see
Dude,
people,
the younger generation.
Hold
that's all I saw.
on. And then I see people who put everybody first, They understand the injustices, and they go, dude, this isn't fucking working for us anymore. I mean, the fabric of society is shifting right now. What does the future look like? Are we talking about a multiple party election sooner or later? Or does Fox News and CNN have this shit so locked up that we can't have nothing but a Democrat versus a Republican?
Yes. No.
Forever.
I think the future, what the future holds, I think the BLM movement is proof to paper that the younger generation is really sees that okay, if the only thing we have is votes, then we got to get together and vote. I also see that what's happening is there's going to be probably some type of a conflict, and that both sides are now muddying up the water so that when the shots are finally fired, that no one's going to be able to tell which side shot first. And I think there's going to be at least some conflict at some point. And I hope what happens is that the real scum of the earth gets stamped out in the conflict that seems like if it's not here already, we're on the cusp of.
Well, I'm gonna throw my 2 cents into the answer to your question, and I actually got to get off of here. But so my thought process here is actually the latter of what both of you said. We're going to continue with this fucking bullshit of pick two sides because the media circle that is CNN and Fox are going to continue to divide us with their bullshit fucking mentality. You've seen the absolute obvious faults of the DNC and the corruption in the DNC. You've seen the Republican Party has been completely overturned by Trump and has become Trump's bitch. Yeah. So they have no fucking option to that.
What are we left with?
After this, what we're left with is fucking anarchy. And you have that erupting. I know this makes Rick very happy because anarchy is the fucking way out of this shit. The problem
necessarily.
But the anarchy is not. The problem is, ultimately your goal, and it's a very noble goal. It makes a lot of sense. But it requires unity of the 80% of the class that thinks they're separated into upper, middle, and lower, and they are all on the same level.
Right.
And that is the plebeian class of how the Roman Senate fucking declined, dude. It's historically speaking in democracies, and there's a good book by Francis Fukuyama that came out years ago about what happens at the end of democracy, because we're supposed to be the key element of government. This is, in my opinion, right, and I'm just speaking from somebody who's always been a cynical kind of pessimistic prick fuck. I've been telling
we all should be.
Dude, I've been telling,
as we all should be.
My mom is in her last stages of life, but I've been telling my mom for the last 7 years.
I'm sorry.
I had a feeling, dude. I said the end is coming, and I used to tell my mom every couple of weeks. I'm like, Mom, you know what's happening, right? And she was like, I know, the end of the world's coming. She used to laugh at me. And about 4 years ago, my mom looked at me and she was like, Bob, and I said, what? And she was like, it's happening, isn't it? And my mom knows nothing about politics. My mom is not interested in any of that shit. She's not interested in it. And I was like,
oh my God, my grandma said the same thing before
I said, Mom, it is. It's happening. And I'm not a doomsday, philosopher or fucking prophet or anything like that.
You don't have to be.
When you study history and you look at shit, you go, listen, it may not be the end of the world, but we have certainly outlasted our shelf life. Our country's had a shelf life. There's no doubt about that. You don't overturn colonialism or colonization, turn it into your own republic, and suddenly think you're going to last forever. We have been beating our chest for the last 50 years, and while beating our chest to the rest of the world, left out 80% of our own world.
Yes.
And when you do that to a population, Midwesterners, coastal people, Southerners, everybody that fought in all of these wars, everybody that contributed to make this country great, what they don't realize is whether you like Trump and his Make America Great Again thing and whatever that symbolizes, or you like the Democrats and you look for progressivism, they've all forgotten you. And at the end of the fucking day, money runs a capitalistic democracy. And if you ain't contributing, you ain't shit. You're just standing by thinking you're living a life of luxury that is nowhere close to what luxury really is. And the problem is that's going to explode between us, not with them. And that's the problem, is that if everybody with a political opinion bonded together and forgot everything based on their financial fucking status, major change would happen.
There's a scene in Mr. Robot in the last season where this guy, the whole fucking, can you mute that?
Sarah, turn your mic off.
Sorry, I thought it.
The whole
Sarah,
fucking
turn your mic
system
off.
is falling apart. The whole world
Sarah,
is falling apart, right? And there's a moment where this guy is standing there with the main computer hacker, and he looks over in the harbor, and there's a yacht, and there's these rich people partying. And he goes, "Isn't it funny how no matter what happens to us, their life is always like that? They never change. Nothing ever really changes. And man, they have been running shit for so fucking long, dude."
Rick, I hate to fucking say it, man. I have been talking about this kind of shit for about 10 years, and it's not something that like I'm proud of. No one wants to be proud of that shit. But when you really start looking at it, and I truly believe that ignorance is bliss.
It is.
The less people know, the more they can live their simplified fucking lives. And I don't agree with conspiracy theorists, because there is a decent amount of volume behind conspiracy, because the conspiracy really happens. It's not.
Sure,
it's a thought. But most conspiracy theories lead to the truth, right? They're not the truth in the way that the conspiracy theorist kind of exacerbates all of the nonsense behind it, but they certainly have some logic behind it. The idea of the Illuminati and all this shit's a little bit far-fetched, but it's all banking. It's simple money. It's investment in commercial capitalism. It's worldwide capitalism.
Yep.
It's very simplistic when you just break it down and go, but I guess that's from an intellectual standpoint. It's like, all right, so you kind of put the points together. The problem with it is that at the end of the day, what change could happen requires unification. And in our country, we are 50 different states with so many different points of view, and now roughly about 150 each, divided up years of experience in their own particular environments, which means unifying those ideals is going to affect everybody differently.
I've always said we're at least 3 different countries.
The way people view, we are at least 40 different countries. We're at least, if you want to break us down into hemispheres, you could. And that's why when you compare socialism to Venezuela, you sound like a fucking idiot. When you compare it to Switzerland, you sound like a fucking idiot, because we are 50 countries with 50 different environments, 50 different types of populations, cultures, everything. So when
you say it that way, Rob, it could be so beautiful. It could be so beautiful.
Best fucking thing that ever happened if people were treated right by the fucking federal government that runs them, and they had good oversight. You don't need strong federal government, but you need guidelines for the institutionalization of each municipal government to run things. The problem is you can't do that in a country that's grown to the size of it. That's why I hate when people invoke the Constitution, because they look back at 10 amendments created by Madison that existed in a world we don't live in.
Right.
And it does not apply to California. It doesn't apply to Colorado. It doesn't apply to fucking Nebraska. Those places came about almost 90 years to the time that guy wrote that shit.
Right.
Now, we're 250 years past that. Not that we have to rewrite the Constitution. It's meant to be amended. But are you fucking people batshit fucking crazy to think that 50 different states, Alaska and Hawaii, are supposed to follow the same rules?
Yeah,
one lives in the North Pole, the other one's in the South Pacific. Are you fucking out of your minds?
Well, is that the next? Is if the democracy is to be saved, is that the next step? Is to divide this up into basically 50 nations, 50 different countries?
My point is, there is no saving this democracy, Stones. This is going to
agree with that 100%.
this isn't going to turn into a revolution, right? It's not going to be a revolution the likes you see where the proletariat goes after the monarch, or you have a communist have their fucking statue tore down. This is going to be infighting over people's simplistic politics that are going to turn into states warring with each other, where they're going to have to bring in the fucking military, because this is going to turn into internal conflict.
And then
when
what?
internal
And then what?
happens, that's the big question. Because if you have that happen, all you have at that point is complete and utter fucking chaos. So, and it's not going to be something that happens in a matter of a month on the news channels. This is something that's going to happen for a longevity of time, and it's going to be highly fucking problematic, man. I'm telling you, as a person who's just viewing it from the outside looking in, not nonpartisan, objective, just looking at how people right now are reacting to one another, keeping their eyes off the government and letting the government throw whatever it is that's the hot topic to split people up. And whatever gets old, a new thing comes out.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about,
but wouldn't you argue that a new thing is coming out now? There's something new, like we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of fucking a level of racial awareness in the United States of America that maybe we've never seen before.
Yeah, sure.
I kind of feel like there's an opportunity. It's going to go two ways, man. Either it's going to crumble completely.
There's no two ways. There's no two ways. You're absolutely right in saying this is right now. This is the fucking opportune time. This is
Definitely.
the time. If people were going to get behind it, you get fucking behind it. It's like women's rights. People got fucking behind it.
Sure.
And the 19th Amendment got passed. That's it. The 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment got passed, and half the population...
People aren't doing that now?
Half the population saw it, half the population didn't.
Okay,
you know?
that's where we are now.
Here's my point, though. In order for what you're saying to happen, there has to be unification. There has to be knowledgeable unification. And
you don't see it at all?
We don't have enough knowledge. We have too much. There's not enough.
I don't disagree, but I don't know if I 100% agree. But I don't disagree.
What I'm saying is, I individually hope that we're moving towards progression, because if not, we're going to see the downfall of our country.
I know.
It's not going to be because of World War.
I know.
It's going to become a domestic problem.
Yes.
The like that you see on the news that affects the Middle East, that affects China, that affects the Philippines. Those kind of countries, they fall together. They fall apart not because of communism and because of dictatorships and because of socialism, but because of social insurgents against the government that either fails or it goes successfully, but it only goes successfully when our country comes to their fucking aid.
Ours failed so long ago.
No other country's coming to help us overthrow the United States.
No.
For them financially. So there's...
It also wouldn't fucking go well for them.
Right.
We would nuke them.
Absolutely not.
Could you imagine if somebody tried to help liberate us? They would be wiped. The fucking earth would look like somebody took a bite out of it.
The world would end. The world would end instantly. The world would end instantly.
Because Americans don't do that shit.
Well, people don't realize the military that we have is located in almost every country in the fucking world.
Every country, you are right. Yes.
It's a matter of you want to fuck with.
I don't want you to leave just yet. I don't want you to leave just yet because we have 31 comments. I just want to read them real quick. Black minors are more likely to be tried as adults. Laura McQueen, and they only resigned from the special unit, not the Okay, I'm sorry. I'm real behind. Scott Fastneck. Hello, friends. I can't stay long, but wanted to let you know I'm thinking about you all and hope you are staying safe. Michael Walters, what's up, bro? Dion's in the chat. Carl Callan, bring back McCarthyism. Hollywood used to be all commies, now all pedos. Can't win. What's up, Rob? What's good, man? Have you seen any videos of the crowd that was protecting Christopher Columbus statue in Philly? Dude, we have talked about Christopher Columbus and what a bastard he was extensively on this fucking show. The only way to win an election is demagoguery. We might be at that point. I tried running for mayor of Deal, New Jersey. Wasn't allowed to use a New Deal as my slogan. Kristen That's Carl Callan. Kristen Sarazin. What's up, Kristen? I like small government with a big heart. Dude, if you want to run for fucking office, Carl Callan, say I love government, small government with a big heart. I promise you people will love that. Frank.
Yeah, the big government won't.
Yeah, no, they won't love that. Let's see. That looked like it caused you physical pain to say out loud. I think it's talking to you, Rob. Exactly. We need a third option running from Madison. Dude, I couldn't possibly agree more. I feel like Bernie Sanders missed an opportunity 4 years ago when he could have run as an
Third
independent.
options don't exist, man.
No, they don't. They don't. But let me tell you something. If Bernie Sanders had run as a third-party candidate 4 years ago, then this election would have mattered more.
Rick, actually, my point for many years now, well, not many years, as long as Trump's been in office, is that if Trump was such the fucking savior and businessman that he is and meant for all this change to happen and drain the swamp, Trump should have run it as the third candidate and seen what he could have done.
He is a third candidate.
No, but what I'm saying is he took a party. That guy had billions of dollars to spend on an election, and if he was trying to drain the swamp and could have run off that, that's what he should have did.
Yeah, but Ross Perot tried to do that, man.
God, I hate how smart Trump is.
But Ross Perot wasn't Donald Trump. Donald Trump came out with fire in a time of social media where the media was like, this fucking billionaire from New York wants to fucking throw his shit around, and he was an obnoxious prick bastard, and he could have did it on his own, financially supported himself. I would have loved to see that.
Because dude, Ross Perot had Z100 backing him back in the day, man.
About Ears McGee. Ears McGee wasn't going to run for shit. I just flew in and, man, my ears are hurting. Fuck that guy, dude. Are you kidding me? I voted for that stack shit, I think, at one point in time.
Hold on. Let me just roll through these. Let's make shit perfectly clear. Anti-Trump is never pro-Biden by Justin Lynch, dude. Holy shit, are you fucking right?
God damn right.
I hate
just like
Joe Biden.
Anti-Trump isn't pro Hillary Clinton.
Oh my god, dude! Every time I say I fucking hate Trump, people are like, oh, you wanted Hillary? No, I didn't want Hillary. Look, listen, man. Here's my fucking bottom line about the DNC. Okay, not to get too pissed off here, but like, if I find myself in the swamp, in the emotional swamp of America so deeply that I actually allow myself to vote for Joe Biden, that's the last fucking self-disrespecting vote I will ever cast in my life. Either the DNC gets their shit together, or they don't.
Because the next election, there's going to be some other reason why, if you don't vote for this piece of shit, racist, rapist, sexual assault motherfucker, then this crazy shit's going to happen. Or that, it's like, how about instead we just elect a good person this fucking time so all this crazy shit you guys talk about stops happening?
Right. Sarah, I'm going to make one comment right now.
I'm ready for it.
If Donald Trump doesn't get it...
Remind me so much of the big brother from the Goonies right now.
If Donald Trump... Oh, my God. I'm fucking Josh Brolin? Josh Brolin?
Dude, I've been seeing it all night. I even looked up a picture of him.
I will fucking take Josh Brolin all fucking day. Are you kidding me? Right now, I get to be... If I could live Josh Brolin's life, are you fucking kidding? I'm Thanos? I'm fucking Thanos? Let's get it the fuck over, bro. I hope I'm on the negative side.
Okay, hold on. Let me keep going through these comments for just a second.
Wait, Rob was talking.
I'm sorry.
Let me just make this point about what you were just saying. So the yeah, it's delicious. So the point you were just making about that, I honestly think
you'll never be Josh Brolin.
I'll never be Josh. I think I look like Josh Brolin now that you said it. I'm fucking... Hold on.
Get to your point.
Mikey, come give me a licorice kiss. That's some Goonies trivia for you. Who said that? There's Corey Feldman. Anyway, so my point at this point with the election is that in the event that Trump gets okay, my theory here is that Trump doesn't lose the election. If Trump does lose the election, chaos, just utter fucking chaos.
And by the way, if he wins, guess what? Chaos.
Well, yeah, but not in the same way. Not in the same way.
I think that
Yeah, much
I think that
darker way,
remains
yeah.
to be seen. I can't agree or disagree with that because I literally don't know what to expect from people anymore. Oh, hey everybody, there's a pandemic outside. Don't go outside, you're gonna die. And everybody, you can't tread on my rights. Like I sincerely don't know what people will do.
What I mean is that the people that are, I think there's more extreme Trump supporters, not Republicans, Trump supporters. I think there are more states than you realize have some really seriously invested Trump supporters that if he gets elected, he's already working on it. So if he doesn't get elected, it's a deep state conspiracy, and it's going to turn into some seriously fucking crazy shit.
Is genius.
And and that's the fucking crazy part about him is that we're looking at as a president. If that man stays alive, which I can't believe he's still alive. I can't believe he's not a stroke or anything yet. But if that man lasts another 4 years in office, and I hate to say it, but I have no doubt he's going to sweep the fucking election.
Me neither.
Dude, what you're describing is, I've brought this book up so many fucking times. I really just wish everybody would read it. Please read the book, The Cult of Trump, because it really talks a lot about what you're saying right now. It's written by a cult expert who actually used to be in a cult, and he talks about, like, now he's a cult expert. He goes around the world basically telling people what it looks like when someone's trying to initiate you into a cult. Because, people don't walk up to you and go, hey, do you want to join my fucking cult? It doesn't work that way.
Does he have good jam recommendations?
Probably. So, anyway, he talks about how in 2016, he started noticing a lot of warning signs coming from Trump and Trump supporters. A lot of things that were alarming to someone who's an expert in cults.
Yep.
And anyway, this book is about the process of brainwashing that he can equate it from his expertise to the Trump campaign, to Trump himself, and now to Trump supporters. And you're right, Rob. When this election is over, if he loses, we are in a lot of trouble, because we're not talking about people like who were Bush supporters, where you can agree or disagree. We're talking about people in a cult.
These are Reagan supporters, locked and loaded, pissed off.
It's people who, it's different than someone who doesn't believe in the same things you do politically or support the same people you support politically. It's very different. It's a situation where you have a cult mentality of, if what this guy says happens, then we know he was right. So when people come out and they say, he's a liar, this is wrong, he did this, they go, well, that's what he fucking said you would say. We knew this was all fake. He told us.
It's David Koresh shit.
It's so fucking twisted, dude. Like, everybody just needs to read this fucking book, because what we're like people that were in cults have to go through like deprogramming and shit. Yeah, we have a country of thousands of people now with that fucking mentality, and we have to just accept that we're gonna have to be neighbors one day when the election's over. No, like, there's a serious fucking malfunction happening.
But that comment you just made, how we're supposed to be neighbors after this, that's how civil wars start. And
I know, dude.
You gotta watch, if you don't watch the documentary, read the book. How the brainwashing of my dad.
Yeah, watched it.
Oh yeah,
We've seen it, dude. It's fucking insane, dude.
Yeah, we watched it. I think Stones might have watched
God.
it with us.
Yeah.
I think go one step beyond that. Please Please
Conquer.
read the book.
Rob, I feel like I told you to watch that. Actually, I'm not really sure, but I tell people to watch that
Like,
fucking documentary all the
everyone
time.
watch it.
I
To go
found
one
that
step
Amazon.
beyond that, please
Like-
read the book The Cult of Trump. It is very fucking interesting.
I'm telling you right now. So I'm going to leave after this. I'm going to get off of here. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you for having me back. I love you guys. It was nice to see you.
There is no
you,
having
Josh.
you back. You're part of the show,
Thank
dude.
you, Josh.
Well, but I know it's been a while. And Stones, I miss you so fucking much. I wish I could fucking touch your face because you're ugly. You're ugly as shit. But I love arguing.
Can I just say that as both of your friends, if I'm allowed to call myself that, it is a real honor to have been a party to watch this little romance blossom. It is not only heartwarming, but can I just flat out just say it's downright adorable.
Yeah,
Honestly, I've
I
never
would
seen Stones like anyone as much as Rob Marchie, and the way that Rob Marchie dotes on Stones is just, it warms my cold heart.
I would fucking date Stones and punch him in the face every morning that we woke up together in bed.
That's what every person
And what
ever
you don't know is that Stones would like it.
Right, and as most people say, no homo, I mean complete homo. So if you're into that, I'm down.
How punk rock of you.
So punk rock. I'm so
Rob,
civilly open to sexuality.
I can't wait for the day that everybody is back here in the studio again, doing this again, fucking live.
We're gonna replace 2 bar stools with 1 swinging seat for you and Stones to be able to cross legs and hold hands during the
Oh, we
show.
can scissor. Yes, can we scissor? We'll scissor while the show is on. I would love it.
I imagine if
So I'm
your
gonna-
balls would hurt.
I'm going to say this. I get to see Rick at school meetings and stuff like that. But Sarah, it was great to see your face. And Stones, it was great to see your face. I wish Matt was here.
And Pat.
I miss Pat so fucking
So
much,
much,
man.
dude.
And
I think he's going to be on the next one. Rob, next week. We're on this next week, right?
I wait. Oh yeah, I'm down if you guys are down.
Hell yeah, we're down.
I'm waiting for the time that we can reconvene and get up with this shit. But I'm just gonna say this: I really enjoy all the conversations that we had, and I've really enjoyed all of the conversations that we've addressed. You know, the politics that we've addressed and the social matters that we addressed. Hopefully we meet next week, but I am genuinely concerned. And Rick and I have had conversations privately about this. I'm genuinely concerned about the state of our country. I know this has become, the quarantine really affected a lot of people, and I tried to
Still is.
avoid with most of that stuff. But now that I look at it and I watch the politics and I see what's going on, especially with the racial injustice stuff, but now between sports not being available and the constant fighting back and forth because of the social matters that go on with that and everything else, I think that people through the next 4 or 5 months are going to lose their collective shit. And we're going to lead right up to an election. And I think it's a powder keg. And
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I want to get the best out of everything we can for the next 6 or 7
Yeah.
months. Come inauguration time in January, I feel like no matter what the outcome of the election is, particularly if it sways in Biden's side, is going to be very problematic for our country. And I just want to tell you guys that I love you. And everybody that's watching this or anybody that's paying attention to this, I'm not trying to predict the future. All I'm trying to say is be respectful of one another. Take care of one another. Don't forget that regardless of politics, we're all human beings and we all have our own individual problems. And before you judge people on social media, try to sit back for a second and think about the lives they came from and the things that they're dealing with that might have projected them to say the things that they are saying and to believe the things they're believing. Because in reality, you're all fucking controlled by shit that sways your opinion in ways that you have no idea. So turn the fucking televisions off.
Yeah.
Talk about things with one another. I want to jump down each other's throats and fucking murder each other. And just realize that at the end of the day, those people are going to be long dead and we can survive together. And we all matter to one another if we accept each other. And don't let media, don't let politicians divide you. We are way better than that. And longevity is really what's important, not what kind of government runs us and how much money you fucking have. Because at the end of the day, my door's open for you, and I hope your door's open for me.
Rob, I
that's
want to say something to you publicly right now.
Definitely, it's open to you, but like after the global fucking
Well, after
after the viral meltdown, our door is always open.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my bathroom door isn't open. That's the one that's not.
Nobody wants your bathroom door open.
Rob, I just want to say something to you publicly here. Awesome Talk is now heading into, I believe July will be technically 7 years. We added Pat about a year and a half ago. That was really great. You've been a part of it for what, a season and a half? 2 seasons?
Yeah, been about season and a half. Yeah, 2 seasons, something like that.
Bro, I think that you've been an absolute wonderful addition to this show. I'm happy that you're a part of it. And I think we all love you to death. And I think that part of what makes this show great lately has been your contribution to it. And I just hope that you understand how much we all mean that when I say that. Like, this show has
For the first time, Rick speaks for all of us.
Yeah.
For the first and only time.
But you've been fucking amazing.
I like how you mentioned everybody's membership except for mine and Matt's.
Well, I appreciate the fact that...
Well, he was talking about the newer members.
Yeah, because, I mean, Stones was here in the beginning. He was here 7 years ago. Matt has been a part of it for years.
Yeah, he didn't mention me
Well,
either.
let me start with... I'll do this systematically. Rick has been a great fucking colleague. Obviously, we work together. He's a great fucking dude, man. And we have talked about some seriously fucking crazy shit. We've shared a lot of really great artists on this show, which is the one thing that I encourage the most, man. You guys support the hip hop community. You support the local music community, the individuals that probably don't get enough airtime anywhere else, which is great. But aside that, the conversations that we've had, the people that we've had as guests, the people that have commented on the things, I'm not one for this shit. You know, I'm not one for going public with all. If I could, I would run my own show, and I know that it would turn into all kinds of crazy bullshit because I get involved in the drama. But I got to tell you, Rick, you've been great to be a colleague with and at work, but also to hang out with. Stones, you're a fucking lunatic, and that's what I appreciate about you. No one really knows what the fuck's going to come out of your mouth, but when it does, it's not illogical. It's very awesome to fucking hear because you don't give a fuck, and you need that. You need balance. You need people to hear some shit that comes from the outside where there's heart in it. Like, you're angry, you're pissed off, you have experiences. It's just great to hear that perspective because you could back down and you could agree with some seriously fucking what people would consider being like liberal bullshit, and yet you agree with it to a certain extent, and yet you push back, which is a beautiful thing. And I feel the same thing about Pat. Pat is very logical. He's very methodical about when he chimes in, when he gives his opinions, and he's very opinionated. It's just that, you know, when you're in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fucking VHS, it's hard to be taken seriously because you're the guy in the commercial on a VHS. No, I'm just joking. Pat is legitimately one of the coolest fucking people I've ever met in my life. Sarah, your energy and your raw just fucking anger has
can I just say that I thought you just said it blipped out and I didn't hear you, but it sounded like you said your energy and your warmth, and I know there's no fucking way you said that.
I said raw anger. I didn't say warmth, but you're fucking warped, bitch. And so at the end of the day, no, I said raw anger. Your passion for the things that affect you the most, which I think is totally credible for everything that you've been through, and the shortcomings of our state and the institution by which you've been ultimately fucked over by, is emotionally charged and at the same time completely credible. And I give you a lot of credit for sharing a lot of that motivation in what we do here. I just got to give credit to everybody across the board, especially Matt for handling the board and dealing with everybody and having to, really put in his work into making the camera shift and give his 2 cents here. Matt is a fucking bomb ass technician when it comes to this shit. And it's great to fucking have him there. And what a fucking great person in general he is. But I got to say, I'm not one for this kind of shit. And when you guys asked me, it was like, I like talking about shit. I like venting my frustrations, but I don't like talking, period. I get tired of it after a while. But you guys encourage me to want to, the topics we talk about, there's no judgment. There's no bullshit. Like, we just air it out. And regardless of whether or not we've had 4 or 5, 25 beers, whatever the fuck it equates to, I love you guys. Like, I think this means a lot, and I have fended off some Facebook people and shit based on what I've said on this fucking podcast and what I've shared. And I don't give 2 flying fucks about what anybody fucking says. I just think that at the end of the day, what's right is right, and I feel that we do the right thing. I feel that we share the right shit, and it doesn't have to do with liberals. It doesn't have to do with Democrats, conservatives, whatever. I don't know. I feel like I would feel lost without this, and I appreciate that you guys even accepted me and asked me to join this. I need this.
You're the newest member. You're the newest member. We've been doing this for 7 years. I've seen a lot of people come and go, dude. A lot of people. And I sincerely hope when I look at you and Pat are actually the 2 newest members. And Pat, I think, was here.
And I think we have the best cast ever now.
Yeah,
I think it's like everything fit into place perfectly now, when before there was always, no matter what it was, there was always something that didn't fit yet completely. And then after Rob and Pat, it was like, okay, we have the perfect cast of it. Like, everyone's personalities everything is perfect like this.
So we love you too, man. And I sincerely hope that as we move forward, that you look at this show and you think about it in a way where you go, dude, years from now, I hope I'm still a part of this, because I feel like in the last year and a half, we have grown. We have built an audience. We have built enough respect. There are people watching right now who fucking have nothing but good things to say. And, dude, we fucking love you too, man.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, man, it's, I love having all the perspectives. I really think it's fucking great. I love the chemistry that everybody has here. I think that, while this comes off as an extremely militantly liberal kind of show, it really isn't. I think there's a lot of logic behind it. I don't view it on a political thing, and I think there's a lot of balance to it, and I think that there's so much intelligence behind it, and it's something that gravitated me towards it. When you asked me, it was like, oh yeah, do I want to take every other Tuesday out of my life to fucking do this shit? It's like,
and then you couldn't help it, that you had to,
dude. There were so many times that you and I taught 8 a.m. classes on Wednesday where it was like, I gotta get up, man. Like, I can't be up all day
but I
fucking
can't
doing
not
this.
do this.
It's like, you know what? I can't not show up and fucking talk about this shit, because we're not political. We're logical. Like, it's just, there's no insanity behind it. It's just
exploring.
A couple of people hanging out, talking about things with life experiences that extend people that are in the regular world. And it's, I really think that some of the topics we've touched on over the last 3 years or 2 years or whatever it may be, whether we piss some people off or not, and we have pissed off a decent amount of fucking people, they could kiss my ass, because the reality is they're not living in reality. It's people that get pissed. The people that get pissed off are not experiencing life, and they either need to open their fucking minds, and they need to go travel, and they need to experience people,
and meet people,
and then
and
come
talk
back
to
and have a
people.
conversation. Yeah. These people live in a motherfucking bubble. And I know that you can speak from the experience of playing in a band, and I can too. That shit, touring for years, opened my eyes to people. traveling for years, it opened my eyes to people. And when I came back and made an appearance on this show, I met 4 or 5 people that I knew were not living in a bubble. They were people that knew what was going on, and it was like, you know what? We're not sitting here with a liberal crusade. We're not sitting here with a Republican crusade. We're sitting here to talk about real life, both pop culture and political, and it's not an agenda. It's, you guys get that shit, man, and I appreciate that. And you've meant so fucking much to me that I would fucking give you the world if I could, like, except for Stones. Fuck him.
Yeah,
But I would the world. Stones can fend for himself.
I'm a minimalist anyway, so
yeah, he's
Yeah, he likes to think of
out
himself.
the fucking-
He doesn't own any things. There's a minimalist.
Stones actually lives in the Pine Barrens in a self-made hut where he hunts fucking beaver every day.
You ever seen oh my god, what's the show with David Cross, Arrested Development?
I know exactly where you're
With
going.
Will Arnett, when this brother goes, I always pictured him living in a lighthouse.
That's fucking Stone.
100%,
That is
dude.
fucking Stone.
I can
100%.
totally imagine Stones living in a lighthouse.
Right?
Dude, the guy with the vision problems is in charge of guiding all the ships back home again. Yes, that's Stones. And then he does like
like-
motivational
but no,
speaking.
but, like,
He becomes blind.
Sarah, a lighthouse on rocks with 50 ships crashed into the fucking rocks.
Dude, it's like the fucking
And
rocky
Stones is-
island that fucking Azkaban is on in Harry Potter.
But the cops are there, and the cops are like, "What happened?" And Stones is like, "It's their fucking fault." I told them
no, handicapped people try harder. Don't mistake it.
I was looking west. I reported east. You can't blame that on me. You can see I don't know where the fuck I'm at.
Listen, I just want to say that Andy Hall is in the chat. I know she's not feeling good, but she showed up for the show. Justin Lynch said that he's feeling teary-eyed through this conversation and beer. My mom is in the chat. She said always. Madison said, I enjoy watching the show and learning different opinions as well and supporting my great colleague Rick. Thank you very much. Speaking of pop culture, the show Dinosaurs is coming to Disney Plus. God, I love dinosaurs. Jesus, man. I love all you guys. We're going to do this again next week. I don't know what day, but let's pick a day, all right? So here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to close the show down. I want to say happy Juneteenth to everybody.
Hey,
I can't believe that nobody mentioned my amazing Randy Watson shirt, but that's okay. That's okay.
but you posted,
Huh?
you posted it. Doesn't make any sense. Why are we gonna mention it when you already posted it all
Because
over
it's
Facebook?
so good, it deserves to be
I
mentioned twice.
love.
So nice.
I
So
love
nice,
that
you
it's
should
got-
mention it twice.
I love that it's got good written on it because he good.
Good. Right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut to Carl Callan. He was the closing act for episode 12, season 11. And I absolutely love Carl Callan, who was in the chat tonight. We're going to cut to his comedy, and then we're going to close the show out. So one thing I want to say, too, is I want to thank everybody who's been here tonight. I put up, I don't normally do this, but I thought, why not? I put up a PayPal tip jar, homebarproductions@gmail. If anybody wants to throw us a few dollars for the show, that definitely helps us out. And, dude, I love all you guys. I love everybody on this show. I love everybody who watches the show. I'm so happy you shared your opinions with us and you stuck with us and you shared the show. And I hope that you like it and encourage people to like the Facebook page and everything like that. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you there too. Anything?
If tonight's show is any indication of what happens in the future, I look forward to the new beginnings that come out of the scorched earth that we're about to be trampling on.
I invite all of you to help build a commune with me, and I will be the leader of the commune if you need a leader. Otherwise, I'll
Now we're
certainly
talking
be a
about
member.
cults all over again.
And
here.
by the
Yeah.
way, I'll be the leader of the commune, and now we have a war.
We just build some shit, grow some shit, live together,
All right,
and
can
have
I
a lot
just
of sex.
say, as the person who has literally lived in an Animal Crossing island for a full 2 straight months, I am the person most okay with starting the commune. Okay, I have an octopus. I have bears, cats. They're all friends. Barely ever fight about anything important. I have tons of fruit. Everybody's happy. I'm the commune leader.
I'll bring the conch. I'll bring the conch.
I will impregnate Stones so many times. We will have such a great population there. It'll be fantastic.
Weird bearded babies.
One-eyed bearded ladies.
We'll have the greatest circus in town.
My favorite part of Awesome Talk is the chat contribution, honestly.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I think it's the most important part because the show would be an entirely different show without it.
I do miss the live performances. I miss the
Oh
show.
my God, I miss you guys being here so much.
No, I agree with that completely, dude. But I'm just talking about as far as the main hours that go by of the show. I think it's the most important part. And when our Awesome Talk started, the whole point was people look at their phones so much that they don't talk face to face anymore. How do we incorporate a modern internet show with the feeling of hanging out with people? And the chat is what allows us to integrate the idea of hanging out at a bar with your friends and still doing something in a technological future that we're in now.
I'm still wanting. We got to integrate phone calls. I'm telling you, we got to get that phone call line in.
We actually had a hotline, and the reason why we kind of stopped using it is because when people would call in, putting that on the mic it sounded so awful every time we tried that we just
And it was a mess. It was everybody called in. It was a mess.
Yeah, it was always a mess. It's always
That's a mess coming from Stones.
and there you have it.
All right, so listen, everybody watching, like the page, like the video, share the video. Thank you all so much for watching and commenting. We're going to go to Carl Callan and we're going to shut the show down. We will see you guys for Quarantine Edition number 11 next week. We all good for that, guys?
Hey, guys.
Yes, we will hopefully maybe we'll have a musical guest lined up now.
That's what I want. I want Nicky Nailbomb on the next show.
Yeah.
All right, homies. Have a good night.
Good night.
First, I'm going to welcome our good friend Carl Callan to the microphone, please.
What am I doing here, Rick? Am I speaking on perspective? Which is basically the root of everything, right? Like, I didn't know what a period was when I was a kid, right? And one time when I was a little kid, I was like 9, 10, I'm spying on my sister and one of her friends because I had a crush on a friend, you know? I was hoping I would see a nip or something. You know, I'm eavesdropping a little bit, right? My sister comes into the room and they're doing a fucking dance. Thank God I got my period. Thank God I got my period. Right? So you can imagine perspective-wise when I'm in school and a girl's blaming her fucking bad mood on having a period. I said, cheer the fuck up. My sister loves getting her period. What the fuck is going on here? I'm belligerent drunk right now, right? When I get belligerent drunk, I have weird ideas. Like I'll be down in AC with the whole crew and I'll go, let me fucking reverse gender stereotypes. I say, fuck it. Let me reverse gender stereotypes right now, right? Because my homegirl, Tammy, right? Platonic. She had broken up with her boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. She'd been single for a while, and she's talking during dinner like, I haven't really fucking gotten laid, blah, blah, blah. You're in the same situation. What do? You cop your homeboy a blowjob, right? You know what I mean? You put some money out, you fucking cop your you cop your boy a blowjob, right? So I go, why can't I get my fucking platonic friend Tammy's pussy eaten for a fee? To think otherwise would be potentially gender whatever the fuck. So as I'm telling my friend J-Bo about what I'm going to do, fucking guy leans over and goes, hey, I'm a master pussy eater. Talk about fucking serendipitous. You know, so Tammy goes up into the room with him for like 15, 20 minutes. Comes down not too happy. She's going, he was no good at all. He couldn't even find my fucking clitoris. Now I gave him 1,100 up front for being a master pussy eater, right? On top of that, it's my best friend Cal's money. He'd been winning in fucking slots or whatever. He gave me his money. He said, hold on to this for me or whatever. So he fucking finds out that I paid this fucking guy 1,100 to fucking eat Tammy's fucking pussy and that he's no good. He goes, why the fuck would you do that? How could you fucking mess? And I said, Cal, what the fuck is a master pussy eater? Something so unique couldn't be a fucking fabrication. You know, because he was winning in fucking craps and whatever the fuck. And I said, I'm fucking sorry. I'm fucking saying, let me pay some money to get fucking Tammy's pussy eaten. A fucking guy leans over and goes, I'm master pussy eater. I've never heard that before in my life. I said, it can't fucking be a fucking lie. And what am I, a fucking sexist? He goes, why would you pay $1,100? I said, it actually was $2,200. Anyway, the guy fucking took off with our fucking money. Anyway, the guy who I was talking to, though, right? My friend J-Bo. Short for Jeremy Boho. We used to call him J-Bo. And look, I'm not saying he's a fucking enabler. I'm just saying, like, he turned Ass Eaters Anonymous, like, into a salad bar. Like, if you want to get fucked up, you go see my friend J-Bo, right? Like, this is a true story, right? My friend J-Bo, like, he buys prescriptions, okay? Like Adderall and whatever. And I don't really like what... Like, in other words, what's the fucking colloquial fucking perspective on Adderall? Oh, it's a fucking meth for kids. You know, it's either meth for kids or a fucking miracle drug. I'm on the fence. Anyway, I'm really careful with the shit, right? So my friend J-Bo throws me like 3 or 4, right? Because I'm very careful with the shit because I don't want to become a fiend. I don't want to be tempted into those fucking dark roads. So I only get 3 or 4 every once in a while at a discount or whatever, right? So one day, about 1.5 years ago, my friend J-Bo calls me up and goes, look, a guy flaked on me. I got fucking 10 Adderall. Do you want them? I said, sure. I go and grab them from him, right? And it pops into my head that I had been flaking on my LDS friends. You guys familiar with the Mormons? Yes. They reached out to me on Facebook, and so I started to meet them a little bit and blah, blah, blah. At one point, I fucking said I would convert if they could beat me in horse. Long story short, I was up HORS before you could even fucking blink. Because there's a couple things in life I'm fucking confident in, right? My baked ziti and my jump shot. I wasn't gonna fucking convert. I knew it. And God bless that fucking missionary. He put up quite a fucking... Anyway, I'm fucking like, you know, I'm on and off friends with the fucking Mormons, right? And I realize I'm in a good fucking mood. My friend J-Bo's got fucking 10 Adderall. I go and grab them from him. And I realize I hadn't seen my fucking Mormon friends in fucking forever, right? So I fucking text them. I go, you guys want to fucking get together? I'll fucking take you to get McDonald's. Whatever, right? So I pick them up. And now I got the 10 Adderall on me. We go to McDonald's, blah, blah, blah. I pull out of fucking plaza, fucking, I don't know what the fuck I did, but the cop pulls us over, right? And I turn to my Mormon missionary friends and I say, you know, you remember when you guys told me when we first met that if there was anything you could do to help me in any way, that you would fucking do it, no questions asked. So I said, fellas, would you mind splitting these 10 Adderall pills with me? Because the police are on their way over to the car. So anyway, we split the fucking 10 Adderall, right? 3.5, and 3. Me and the 2 Mormon missionary elders. Long story short, we converted 83 people in 3 days. Which, if you really break down the mathematics, which my man Tadpole, salute for Tadpole for fucking bringing me out here, and thank you for Rick for having me. But like, if you really fucking go by density wise and fucking whatever, we have fucking Parley Parker Pratt beat. by a lot. 83 people in 3 days in modern America with the perspectives on Mormons is one of the most impressive feats to ever fucking be done. And I think as a society, we need to laugh. Right? People are fucking goofy. Like, I fucking, right, belligerent drunk in the city one night, right? And I trip over this homeless guy was playing a fucking violin on the sidewalk, right? I'm fucking belligerent drunk. I knock over his fucking violin stand. Right? A homeless man looks at me and goes, bro, don't worry about it. My homeowners will cover it. This is a man living on the street who fucking had a fucking sense of humor. God bless him. I was talking to a little Jewish lady online at the supermarket, right? And I'm asking her about Jewish delicacies. I'm going like, how much does a loaf of challah bread cost? How much does a loaf of challah cost? How much does a loaf of challah cost? I'm sure, you know, she was hard of hearing. And the fucking guy working the register goes, do you realize that you're yelling down at a little Jewish lady? Yelling Holocaust in public? Anyway, shout out to Vin Brew. Shout out to Angelo Gingerelli. Kyle Groom. Tadpole Triplet again. Matt Nascimento. All of my local comedy friends, right? Because I had a big blowout with my people up in Kearney. I said, suck a fucking dick and die. And I fucking left there and I came down to do fucking dishes. I fucking gave up a whole season's pay up in Kearney. And I did fucking dishes at a bakery for many fucking, months until they said, why don't you try stand-up comedy? So I went to the home of original music, Brighton Bar, and I started doing comedy. And they let me do a roast there. And many of my friends came out. Angelo Gingerelli, Matt Nascimento, Kyle Groom, Donna Lloyd, Little Atlee. All of my fucking friends. Brian St. John. Andy Bustamante. Andy Bustamante said it made a fucking joke about my fucking forehead being big. I fucking fell off my chair fucking laughing. Brian St. John, Ziggy Bryson, and many others. Can I tell you guys one more joke before I go?
Yes.
Just one more. Woo. Just one more. All right. Are you guys familiar with dendrophilia?
Of course.
All right, so that's somebody who has sex with trees. Right? Yeah. All right, so one of my fucking niece's friends come over one day, right? And they're talking about dendrophilia. I said, Jesus fucking Christ, I know dendrophilia, right? Like, because one of my sisters is a dendrophile. And a fucking kid, because this is Generation Z. You're talking about millennials, Generation Z. This is how fucking rude these fucking goofy kids are these days. They'll come into your own house and tell you that your sister's not a dendrophile. He's going, you didn't fucking know that until I told you just now. You're not your sister's not a dendrophile. Fucking, you didn't even know it was sex with trees until I just told you. I said, look, pal. I said, nobody comes into my house and fucking talks to me disrespectful. I said, you can make like a tree and fuck my sister. Angelo Gingerelli, fucking Brian St. John, Vin Brew, Waldo Maldo, my best friend, Waldo Maldonado. If anybody's watching, please look up my friends. Very funny people. They came out and roasted me on August 8th, and we're hoping to do a Halloween show sometime in October, somewhere on the Jersey Shore. Hopefully, of course, at my home away from home, Brighton Bar. Technically, I'm dead, and this is my ghost saying thank you guys so much for having me, and I look forward to watching Damien's performance. Thank you, guys.
Woo! Thank you. That was awesome, man. Thank you so much, dude. That's fucking great. And thank you so much for being here tonight, dude, for our season 11 finale.